Preparing to live stream. Meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. It says preparing. Done redirecting. I feel like we both struggled more with this than what two people who allegedly know what they're doing should.
I mean, we do computer quite a lot. Should be.
All right, behave yourself. I think this is actually live now. View live in control room. So just in case anyone's joining in, and also for anyone who watches this later on, because allegedly this is now actually, oh yeah, there's 5 people there. So this is now actually live.
What?
Okay. We've literally joined early just to try and figure out what the hell we're doing. We did dry run this,
we know what we're doing. It's for testing.
So mate, I'm just going to drop you in our Secret Squirrel back channel.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is, oops, someone just dinged me. Okay, that's the public link. So I'm just going to do that there as well. I'm going to do that there. I gotta put that in Twitter there. People are joining and they're just like, what the hell is Scott Helme? Like, it's not where is Scott Helme, it's when is Scott Helme.
Oh, people are joining and expecting like professionalness, and it's just
Scott Helme is stuck in like the early 2000s era.
Oh yeah, man! Like this is where it's at.
Oh boy! All right, so this is why we joined early to try and make all of these things actually work.
Are you doing the tweets? There it is.
I tweeted it.
There we go.
Did I put your name in it? No, I did.
Yeah, it's okay.
Look at that. Awesome. Open app.
Are you doing the book face?
Doing what?
Facebook?
Oh, I hadn't thought about it. Now, and just in case if anyone starts trying to make suggestions about how to make shit work, don't. Because you gotta push our buttons, given how much time we have tried to make this thing work exactly the way we would actually like to. So you're going to end up with one of us talking on the screen and the other one not, because when you record with Zoom, that's what Zoom does. So do we agree, Scott? Like this was...
Bro, do you even computer?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Some days I wonder. Okay, so I didn't Facebook. Is anyone on Facebook? Is anyone is actually interested in what we do on Twitter anyway?
I don't know. I just put it on there and set it public. It's fine.
I just brought like a whole esky full of beer because it's 7 p.m. and it's been a really, really long day. And I started live streaming like 12 hours ago with Ari, doing like what do we do? Like an hour of code, kind of. Went really well too, actually. Hey, just while we're actually kind of past time, so we're meant to be started. But jeez,
my speed cuts out.
It just fell over the iPad. Anyway.
Bro, do you even computer?
So we both green screened for this because this is like, I mean, we've got slides and stuff like this because
nobody would have known had you not told them that.
No one would have known. It's like,
this is my window at home.
They thought you were just sitting. Well, they know you're not at home, mate, because I can see sun, so it's definitely not your place.
Oh.
How long did you get? Well, 2 minutes. I'm in Have I Been Pwned headquarters at the moment. do the thing with the green screen, because we both got green screens. We're both in like that. What is it? Sort of new mode, novelty factor mode at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. So hang on. So first of all, like I need to change my background. So I'm going to change it to this one, which is like very, very Harry Potter-esque. And then like what I can do is kind of go like this and get like my cloak of invisibility. And then it's just talking Scott head, which is like how I'm tempted to present because.
I've just realized that like this whole talk might actually be better than when we've ever done it in person because we never got to do stuff like this before.
This is the new It's just so cool. Like, I'm just going to pretend that my little kid came up with this, but actually it's me. And I can just like...
So what did I get?
So awesome.
I was mucking around with this earlier on, and we've actually got to see what these green screens look like underneath. And actually, this is one of the reasons why we use Zoom, because Zoom does make it super easy to be able to do like green screen. So I got this one, and if you position yourself just right,
dude, are we going full cybers?
How's that?
Hang on.
Is that good?
Let's go full cybers. There we go.
Hang on, that's like Japanese cyber. Come on. Can't you put it in binary so we can just all read it?
That's like actual matrix codes, dude.
What else I found? Oh, I found one. Found another one here. Where's this? Virtual background. I've got one that makes it look like I'm at your place. Look at this.
Oh, that's my car.
Is that what you call your horse?
Anyway, so hang on then. If I'm gonna, I need to go like more cybers. Where are we? Here we go. More cybers.
Oh, look, you've gone full video.
Now we're talking.
Look at
that. So this is the bit I have a disc. So it's proper weird because like I still have like the minty toothpaste taste in my mouth from brushing my teeth because it's 3 minutes past 9 a.m. But I'm going for it. I'm going for the beer.
Hey, I'm glad you did video because I got a video too. Check this one out.
Oh,
this is Scott crashed into a tree in Norway on a snowboard last year.
I don't think there's enough evidence to actually prove that that's me.
And then Ari just laughing at you, and it's cool, right? Because it keeps looping. So, well, the full version has audio of you screaming as you're trying to get out of the tree, which is completely hilarious. Hey, just in case anyone's interested, because like we're all trying to sort of figure out this.
I'm sorry, my kid's just about to come and interrupt me in the live video.
That's terrible. So, while we're all trying to figure out like how we work remotely and everything, this is like the first green screen I've ever had, and I got one of these. It's from a company called Elgato. So check.
Oh, here goes my wife to save the kids.
Also, that video is super janky when you try and play it over the live stream. All right, so but here's the trick, right? Because because of the way Zoom broadcasts to YouTube, I have to be talking and not you talking. Otherwise, it goes to your screen. Oh, yeah. You've got to be on my screen for this, because watch this.
I was fully expecting some undressedness.
Are you disappointed?
Do you know what you could do? You need to go get like a picture of like The Rock and put it on the background and then just go like this. And then no one will be able to tell the difference.
Oh, you.
Oh, wait.
Oh, you. Okay. Should we jump into it? Have we finished like mucking around with green screens for a bit?
Hang on. There's one more thing that I need to do.
All right.
I just need to make you feel like really, really at home. So I can say like, good day, mate. And stuff like, that's not a knife. So now, like, I'm all ready.
Do you know your entire...
I'm all ready to, like, Oz this shit up. Here we go. Oh, no, stay on my shoulder, little cat. I definitely didn't buy props for our live stream. I have my, like, giant not a knife. It's like, there it is. So now I feel like we can go. Now I feel like I'm in a different time zone, and therefore it's acceptable for me to drink beer.
All right, so that's all terrible. Actually, I don't know if it's. I think it's you, not me. Is kind of buffering like a bastard at the moment as well. So maybe that's a good time to go to the slides, because we do have slides. We do have content. I thought we should actually do something.
All right, here's my actual room.
I'm going to do share computer sound. I've got to remember to do that. Is that where all the toilet paper went?
Oh, shit. Hang on. Let me just turn my green screen back on. Oops. You're not going to be able to see me. There we go.
I kind of feel like it's going to be hard to actually do this in person again. Like at some distant point in the future when we're actually allowed in the same room together again, this is going to be weird. Anyway, all right. So let's actually kick into this. So I have flicked over, hopefully, into SlideShare. Now, one of the things that bugged you and I is like once we're in SlideShare, a little bit like when we were in video before, it's like there's a little picture of whoever's talking. It's either you or it's me. So if we want to do any mucking around with green screens or stuff like that, we've got to we've got to make sure we talk, otherwise you can't see it. You know, like how, now that I think about it, for all these parents that are meant to be like homeschooling, how the hell are they going to work this shit out when we're here going, we're having trouble figuring out how to make the Zoom stuff work? You know, like, is this actually going to be
But how are the teachers, like, I just love the idea that all teachers are going to become like IT teachers as well as like English or math or whatever it was, because yeah, this is just going to be funny.
I saw this comment today from a school kid, and she's like, my teacher can't figure out how to mute a YouTube video. Like, how is he going to be able to actually take a class over Zoom? So that'll be interesting. All right. So kicking into it, Cyberbreak. And now we have been doing this for a little while. This is the first Cyberbroken Quarantine edition. So this is not something that we have done before. But I think so far it's actually turning out kind of fun. And, you know, normally when we do this, we end up sort of, you know, sitting somewhere like this. So this was actually London in January. How long ago does that feel already, right? I mean, just in terms of the fact that like life is kind of completely different now, which
I mean, it's just like when you're crazy busy, like a couple of months like that feels, so what is it, like is it just 2 months? Was it like mid-January?
It was late January, man. So it was less than 2 months ago.
2 months, which I mean, feels like a lifetime anyway. And
you know why? Because I actually flew back last month. So I flew back in Feb, and I flew through Singapore with Ari, and we're like, there's a few people with face masks. Well, shit got really weird, didn't it? And now we're like, wow, okay.
Now it's like live at home and don't come out.
So anyway, we did this in Oslo because we did it for Security Oslo in January. And I'm just thinking about this year, and then, you know, obviously we've done a bunch of other times as well. We did it in London after that as well. Now this, of course, is sort of becoming the online version. And this is sort of where we got to do the pitchy bit as well, because, oh shit, I've got to put my green screen back up. Now trust us, we've
got this completely organized. Picture of your office.
This will all be fine. All be fine. Virtual background. There we go. Good. So, because we are doing the workshops for NDC, we're going to do the one which is sort of friendly to the Australian time zone, Thursday, Friday this week. Where
it's like 3 days away, right? 4 days
is
away?
What?
It's like 3 or 4 days away, right?
It is less than 3 days away. It's like 2.5 days away. Because on Monday evening,
I have it in my calendar as Wednesday, Thursday. So, but yeah, that's Thursday, Friday for you. So it's Wednesday,
will be Thursday, Friday for us.
EMEA.
But we've got, in fact, I'm just going to find the blog post here as well. Oh, did I save the other thing here? Yep, that's cool. So we're going to do it for Australian time zones. Anyone can go. It's just like Australia-friendly time zones. And here we go. Here's the thing. I'll just whack that on the slide. And we will jump backwards and forwards to browsers and things for a bit too. And we're going to do it, according to the deck, we're going to do it in Copenhagen. That's only the week after. We got to be in Copenhagen the week after. So that's.
I booked some flights.
That comes up quick. And then, of course, Porto as well. So, yeah, Porto at the end of the month. But at least they'll sort of be time zones that are friendly to Europe as well. And the thing with all of these, like the Aussie one, and I don't think this is just me trying to find the silver lining on all this, but this is normally like the cheap tickets are almost $1,800 Oz. That's ex-GST for Australians. And we're doing them at 800. So at least they're like super, super cheap compared to, you know, actually going along and doing the thing in person. Plus there's no travel costs and hotel costs and all that sort of stuff. So should be good. And we have done a heap of them already, haven't we, online?
Yeah.
Just under less duress at the moment.
I've been shifting remote for like the TLS one as well now, so it's not a new thing.
Yep.
But it is like it's really important to keep the cogs at places turning, but like not just, you know, for NDC, like for me with my other training, and also for me, you know, like we've got to like we have to keep things turning. Stop playing around with it.
I'm going back. This is actually my backyard. Scott knows this. He knows this one isn't a joke. So I'm going to go back to the backyard shot of me for a little bit while the green screen's still there. So Yeah. Anyway, so we will be running those, and look, part of it as well, and on the like probably the only serious note we're going to get all day is that we want to make sure that events like NDC are sustainable beyond this period. And of course, none of us know how long this period will last for, and how difficult it will be. But I just want to make sure that companies like that are still around, because we want to be able to do this thing that we've been doing for so many years in person on the other side of it. And to do that, we've got to find other ways of making the thing viable. So coming along and doing a workshop, it's, this honestly for us, it's more about sort of keeping the wheels turning than anything else. So, please register for that, help everything keep going, and we'll just keep doing as much other fun and where possible free stuff like this anyway. All right, so moving on. Remember this? London last year? So this I thought was actually a really good summary. So we started actually doing Cyberbroken as a talk here on the Gold Coast about 2 years ago, because we were doing NDC security in Australia. And the original genesis of it was Jacob from NDC. He said, look, he asked me if we could do an extra talk because we had a spot to fill. And I was like, yeah, Scott and I will do one together. And then I forgot to tell you. And we basically got like through to the day, and I was like, yeah, we're doing this extra talk, right? And you were a bit surprised by that. So we effectively turned it into a talk where I just show slides. Scott can't see what's coming. And then I just hit him with stuff that is like actual InfoSec related. And we just have a banter about it. And it turned out to be really, really popular when we did it on the Gold Coast in mid-2018. So when was the next time we did it? Did we do it in Australia in 2017, or did we roll into London? No, this was 2018. Oh God, I lose track. And then 2019 is this shot here on the screen. So we actually did it as the party talk at NDC London. And it was really good fun. And I really like that this guy here, Harry Miller, I like the comment, right? It's like Top Gear for nerds. And I thought, well, this was really insightful. And then I realized he was drunk. And like maybe it wasn't as insightful. I don't know. But he seemed to be having fun. And it has just turned into a bit of an event where we have a few beers and, we make it kind of fun, which is nice. So XP man, any comments on that? Because we've got to sort of do this now. It's like, otherwise you sit here at one end just talking into your screen. We almost need to go pause, wait for Scott's response.
No, yeah, I mean, it's good. Like, hopefully we've kept all of the good elements of it. I mean, I'm drinking at 9 a.m. I hope no one reports me. But I'm sure this will be fine.
You know what? In all seriousness, there's a couple of things that you don't know about yet that have changed related to the talks that we have done in the past. When I show them to you, you're going to lose your mind because they're kind of hilarious. Anyway, because we are trying to actually keep in the spirit of having a conference, we do actually have to have a code of conduct. And when you're in a conference and you're all there face to face, it's pretty clear because there's a lot of other people around. They all interact with each other. When it's you and me, that the code of conduct is basically for you. So this Scott, is actually your code of conduct. Now, the first thing here is that every time we have done this in person, we've always said in advance, please don't record it, right? Like, turn the camera off, don't record it. Because every other event at NDC, every other talk at NDC is recorded. And we've literally sort of gone around like, okay, the camera off, can you put something in front of it? Because it has been, I think honest is a fair word, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
An honest talk.
Right.
So with that in mind, number one, don't get us sued, please.
Oh boy.
And you do remember some of the things that we've said in these events. Number two, don't get us sued. We'd really appreciate that. Now, having said that, when I was putting this, I did this last moment. I was like, oh, we've got to have a code of conduct, at least in spirit, right? And I was like, well, who's actually going to come down here and come after me anyway? Because no one's going anywhere. So, maybe it's all right. I don't know.
You've got at least 3 months of like not being served in person.
Maybe like the statute of limitations will pass before any of us are allowed to fly anywhere. Number three, very directed at you. Please stop pronouncing router like it's a sex act. You know exactly what I mean. Every time you do this, it freaking
router. It's like, I don't care what you say. It's like Right. Okay. Let me ask you a very simple question. What language do you speak?
Australian, obviously.
No, you speak English, and I have the authority on that because I'm English. It's a router.
Well, we didn't get through the code of conduct before breaking the code of conduct. Last point, just as a final reminder, please don't get us sued. And with this, I think this is going to be 99% of what we would normally do in person, and we're just going to have to use our discretion with that last 1%. There might be a few allegedlys in there.
I'm just going to have to preface everything with allegedly or my opinion.
Oh, jeez. Anyway. All right,
there's a fantastic comment here about words.
You know, I haven't read any of the comments because I've been too busy talking. So
like,
what have we missed?
Mr. Malware, data. Like you say your words wrong as well. Data. There we go. Oh yeah. Oh, that's a fantastic one. Say cache.
Catch?
Like HTTP cache.
HTTP cache. Is this like in a try?
No, cache, as in like CACHE, cache.
Cache.
Keep them coming in the comments, everybody. Like, this is data. I love how everyone's trying to spell how you say data in the comments. CAYTA, DAHTA, DARTA.
We set a start time for this live stream. We haven't set a stop time.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
And I did bring like a whole esky full of beers as well. So we can go all night or all day, as it may be. I might just keep that cold because I think I'm going to need that.
Cache.
Cache.
KESH. That's amazing.
Of course, the other thing is we're both so busy talking now that no one's going to be moderating the comments. So this morning when I did the talk with Ari, the Hour of Code, I wasn't expecting you to be there, but you were there and you're like, this guy's a dick, mute him. This one's a dick, mute them as well. And you did a very good job. So at the moment, if anyone's a dick, you're basically we don't have a whole lot of visibility there.
They have until we know
it. See it. Waves to join. Oh, anyway, that's all about pronunciation. Let's move on. Talk about more important things. Just talk a little bit about you first. So,
look at the sexiness. I mean, yeah. Hang on, we're live. I can't go back. Damn.
I'm actually interested. And by the way, someone's asking how to pronounce azure. You pronounce it azure, like the bloody color. Anyway, moving on. I'm just curious to see. And again, for people listening, like there's about a 30-second delay between us talking and it hitting YouTube, but there's like basically a fraction of a second delay in you leaving a comment and us seeing it. So it's a funny kind of loop. But anyway, that gives more people to enjoy this, more time to enjoy this image. Where did we take that actually? Where was it?
So Lars Klint took that on the NDC Oslo boat cruise.
Do you always look at Lars like that?
I mean, yeah, who doesn't? I can't remember what we were doing. Like, I think he got his camera ready.
All right, nope. Stop there.
Dared me to do something and then just like ninja'd the photo.
There is a lot of implicit stuff in the code of conduct as well. I'm just putting it out there. Anyway,
like considering it was like such a ninja shot and I wasn't ready, it came out kind of well. Like I'm okay with that.
Okay, you're owning it. Good on you for that. Anyway, you have done some stuff. So securityheaders.ir, and you know what? I just remember the last time I showed this, you corrected me and said you are no longer an Indian Ocean's territory company.
Yep, we've repatriated.
A .com, which is American, as we know, because they own the internet. We are streaming at the time. There's not going to be Americans on board. You know that. Scott says nothing. All right, moving on. Report your RI.
Must have dropped there.
What's that?
The connection must have dropped there. I'm just going to remain silent.
You made report your RI. Report your RI. That was pretty good. It was pretty decent. So, you've done that. You're a humble guy too, which is why your training is the world's best TLS training. Which is
yeah, for sure.
Which is good. Important. We need TLS. We're going to talk a lot about TLS today as well.
Fingers crossed.
So, you have many talents. We also got to see a little bit of my live green screen backdrop before. Scott crashed into a tree while snowboarding. People do seem to like unfortunate things that happened to Scott. So I've got a little video here from this must have been bang on 2 months ago when we were snowboarding out in Norway. Let's see if this works. Does that work for you? stop this now? Can I pause it? There, hang on.
My audio is so
Let
loud.
me just get you full snow angel position. There you go. That's better. So, wow, so I've got my iPad in front of me just so I can see what the live stream actually looks like. It looks like that worked okay. Did that sound come through nicely for everyone, I hope? Very good. Very good. It's important. So anyway, we have had a lot of fun. And, you know, we talk about language. One of the things we're going to show a bit of is some of the feedback that we get from people online, which at times is amusing. And I saw you get this bit of feedback recently. Now, I think do you remember this? I think this was a comment on your blog post, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, the monotone northern thing. Yeah.
Bam, look at that. Highlighted it straight away. Monotone northern dialect. Now, I thought this was funny because to me, basically everyone's northern. So I was like, what do you mean northern? It's like everybody else. But is that a thing? Like, do people take the piss out of you for that other than this guy?
I mean, there's no, like, out of all of the English accents, the one that you can take the piss out of the least is northern. Like, we are, for the Game of Thrones people, like, we are the Starks, right? Like, it's just everyone hating on us because we're the best. That's literally all it is.
Is that the basis of your argument? That's terrible. All right, let's get into cyber stuff because we have somehow already blown about 20-something minutes without doing anything of substance. And we still have concurrent viewers, actually, just for your reference, 255 at the moment, and that's good.
Loads of people keep saying that you can turn on gallery mode and then everyone can see both of us at the same time.
All right. First of all, bullshit, because we've tried all of this. Second of all, how do you turn on gallery mode?
So we have to wait 20 seconds for the answer now, but like that's literally like the 5th person that said it.
Really? But as a live, so this is the trick, as a live stream from Zoom to YouTube, because I'm sure that you can do that just with Zoom, but I doubt you can do it from YouTube to Zoom. How north? The place is so bloody small anyway. Does it matter?
Dude, we're like, you know, like if I was to drive to London, you know, it's like 300 kilometers. It's like I have to pack food and supplies and everything. Jeez. Leicester? Who just said Leicester in the comments? Get out. How do I ban this guy? Hang on. Manchester. The capital of the north, the true north.
I cannot see. I know what they mean by gallery mode in terms of like being able to see all the videos at once. But just as an example of this, on my screen, you know what, we'll just see if I can drag this over and then I can screencast myself. Maybe that'll work. So we can see me on the top image and then Scott on the bottom image, which would be fine, but that's not what Zoom then includes in the stream to YouTube.
Oh, okay.
All right, well, tell you what, I'm going to drag that off the screen and we might just keep going with this. And if someone in the comments actually...
It's filtering it out, by the way. It's like, it's not actually there. I can see you dragging it in and out.
Right. Okay.
Zoom's actually removing that.
All right. We can fix this. I'm going to screen cap it. Oh, no, that's a bad shot. Let's try this. I'm going to screen cap it.
Is there a good one?
Like this. I've got to look at what else I've got on my screen here.
All of those secret have I been pwned documents.
All right. See that? Does that actually, we'll see if that comes through.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay. So I can see that, but I can't put that as the stream source, if you like, for video. So we're basically just at Zoom's mercy for that. All right, well, I'll tell you what, move on. If anyone else figures this out, fantastic. But if you're just guessing, that really doesn't help.
Specific instructions in the comments, please.
Oh, shit, I've lost your video now. Where'd you go? Why can't I see you?
You can't lose me.
Oh, no, you're down there. There we go. All right, sweet. Let's move on. Let's talk about these guys because you love these guys. You want to do this?
I don't know, because like we talked about the developments in this regard privately last time.
I'm going to ask you about that. Remember the code of conduct?
But like, how can I talk?
Hey, okay, don't mess it up. We'll come back to that. I'll tell you, I'll just put the screen on, and then you can just start talking about what it is. So explain to people what Nomex is.
Blimey, can I go get the box out of the cupboard? That would be amazing.
Yeah, have you still got it?
Like, I didn't know this was coming, but the box is in the cupboard behind me.
Okay.
Should I go get it? Like, seriously?
Just walk around behind your window.
Yeah, hang on. Like, yeah, because I can just go this way. And now I can do what you did before. Hang on. Where is it?
All right. So whilst I'm looking at the comments from other people here about OBS, so Jai says, if you watched Troy's video this morning, you know he doesn't know about OBS. No, I didn't. So what I knew about OBS is that every time I looked at anything about Twitch streaming, it's like, oh, go and get OBS. You should use OBS. And then I got it and I was like, oh, this looks really powerful. I also have basically no time in order to figure this out because I've got a gazillion things I'm trying to do at once. But I got enough to sort of get it working this morning. Incidentally, Giant, for anyone else who watched that video this morning, I watched it back. I felt like there was a bit of an echo in there. And I think what I'd done is I added like one source, which was my audio. And then when I started streaming, it had audio again. And I feel like it had two audio tracks. And they were just like a few milliseconds offset or something. Anyway, okay. Scott.
Yeah, I guess this is like proof that I don't know stuff's coming because I actually didn't know that was coming. Otherwise, I would have prepared my box.
All right, that's it.
Okay. Hello, testing. Was that? Hopefully that wasn't on.
Whilst I'm actually literally going to go and turn on my air conditioning because this is Australia and it's still kind of summer. So you start. I'm going to make myself cooler in here.
Turning on your air conditioning is not going to help with that, Troy.
I'm still here.
I actually have like the Nomex. The Nomex. So for people familiar with email, this is no MX, like no mail exchange record. So I think it's, yeah. So what does it say? The world's most secure communications protocol. And this is like the actual little doohickey. Like this is the box, the actual Nomex box. It's amazing. Hang on, let me just try and get it out. So this is the box, like the size reference. Here's a hand. So it's like, I don't know, actually. It's not that big. Anyone listening to just the audio on this in for a treat. So yeah, like the Nomex device, it is pretty cool. Like, you know, as far as boxes go, I won't open it yet. I won't spoil it. So they built this. They got investment funding. The long story short is kind of like a mail server that you install in your house, and then you don't have to trust, you know, like they call out these people by name, so hopefully they won't sue us. But you don't have to trust like Google or Microsoft with your emails. Your emails don't have to go through their servers. You keep them on this little box that runs in your house, and therefore it's like nice and private and safe and secure.
Okay, cool.
Is that pretty much Nomex?
That's the background. Very good. Now, that is what the product does. Actually, let me rephrase that because that might be a little bit too liberal. That's what the product claims to do, allegedly, code of conduct. What did you then do?
Well, I mean, like to be completely, so let's do a test, okay? Right. So I flipped the box over and I read the logo on the bottom. Like I can't see my own camera. Is that reasonably well positioned for people to see?
I'm just reading the comments saying that you have little hands. So.
We went there. Yeah, but that's good because it just makes stuff look big when I hold it like this.
I think what the problem is everyone has been stuck at home for God knows how long. We haven't been able to have human interaction. Everyone's getting a little bit of sense of normality and just losing their shit. So anyway, go on.
Right, okay, so read the label on the bottom. Can you read that, Troy? Is that good enough quality? Like, can your Australian
contrast looks pretty wild. So you might actually have to explain that.
Okay, so on the bottom, like most devices, it has like serial number, revision, hardware versions, but then it has a MAC address, right? And I'm looking at the MAC address, and the MAC address starts with B827EB. Now, as soon as I flipped this over, I was like, this is a really familiar MAC address because this is the MAC address that, well, one of the MAC addresses that the Raspberry Pi Foundation has for Raspberry Pis. And I see this on the bottom of the box.
Okay, so I'm just first of all I don't know if I'm like in awe or saddened by the fact that you remember the initial octets of the MAC address for Raspberry Pi.
I mean, it's just like I have like Raspberry Pis dotted around my house for various projects, and I've seen them a lot, and I've kind of like whitelisted them on my network. It's just, you know, it's just the curse of being a tech geek. Like, you know, I recognize certain Mac prefixes. Like I can recognize an iPhone based on its Mac prefix. Like,
I stand by my position. Anyway, so you what the bit that you end up doing with it, because I'm just trying to get stuff in sequence here, because I've got slides which is effectively then the rebuttal of the things that you claimed. So what happened with this after they came out with this device?
Well, so they came out with it at CES in, I think it was 2017 from memory. So they came out with it at CES in 2017. The BBC went there. They like filmed, you know, they've got like you can Google it and see the pictures. They got like the big booth and the piles of boxes, and they're giving these things out. The BBC interviewed them because they made some Super Bowl claims. Like, we're more secure than Gmail and Microsoft, who are the world leaders in this space. So this is like a really big story for them. So they did all the filming and the interviews, and then they came back to the UK. They're doing the production of the show, and it's like, hey, we've got to do our due diligence and get someone independent to look at this thing. So they called me up, and they called up another friend of mine, Professor Alan Woodward. He's like a super crazy smart crypto guy. So you can see here on the screen, it says the world's most secure communications protocol. It has some kind of encryption stuff. So Alan was going to look at that. And then obviously it has like a physical box, and I like breaking hardware devices. So they called me up. And they're like, hey, can we send you some? And you just look at them and tell us, you know, like, are their claims true? Because we need to do our due diligence.
Right. Now, then you guys, I think the polite term is shredded the thing and put it on the BBC.
Yeah. So we did it. We broke it. And we were like, hey, you probably shouldn't publish this story because it's like, in our opinion, it's not, you know, it's not so secure. So yeah, it was like, everything just kind of went downhill from there. So just like for people on the call, bearing in mind, we asked the company to ship us like production units so that we were testing with, like, you know, sometimes people have demo units or like not quite finished units, and you can show them off and sell them for like pre-order. And we were like, is this the real deal? And just to kind of show people, like, this is the inside of the box. So you can see my studio lights there. Let me just tilt that away a little bit. So this is the inside of the box. Here's like the Raspberry Pi with the heat sinks and stuff, you know, so, oh, wow. Okay. So is that, so my green screen is putting Windows XP on a Raspberry Pi. Because the PC,
I'm sure someone's done that already. We're going to get comments about it now. It's like, oh, dude, I put Windows XP on a Raspberry Pi in 2000.
So anyway, that's kind of cool, actually. So yeah, you know, it was really just the standard Raspberry Pi running outdated Raspbian, running outdated postfix, Dovecot. You know, it was literally just run-of-the-mill email server. So yeah, that was not good.
Fun fact also, you actually brought that with you when I think we did NDC Oslo in the middle of last year. No, I mean, you know what? I think it was the middle of 2018. You brought it with you and you passed it around the audience. And when it came back, someone had taken out a screwdriver and disassembled the bastard, and you got it back in pieces.
Literally had to go around and collect pieces of my Raspberry Pi box.
Which was quite literally funny.
Like dismantled.
Anyway, so you and Alan went and did the BBC bit, got a lot of press. Nomex not so happy about it. So they came out with a bunch of rebuttals. And I like this one. UK blogger makes false claims he can access Nomex remotely. So what do you say to that?
Well, first of all, I think that by just broadcasting this, like, did we just break the Nomex site? Because I've just tried to reload the page and it's...
No, don't go there. This is part of the surprise. This is one of the things I've learned today. So
rewind, cut, edit. Yes, so UK blogger, this is my official title from now on, apparently. Made false claims he can access Nomex remotely. I stand by my claims, like I stand by my assertions.
But what I like, and you'll see this in the next comment as well, is that the term UK blogger, like over and over again. And like both those words, right? It's like, okay, so you're British. All right, let's put that in the headline. I wonder if you'd been American, if that would have been in there, given it's a US company. And then
US
blogger, because it almost feels like an attempt to be derogatory, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't feel like this is intended as like an endearing term in any way, shape or form.
Nope. So anyway, they go on. Fails to access Nomex remotely. You call bullshit on that?
Just to clarify, like the fails to access Nomex remotely, they plugged one in and like sent a tweet that said, we've just plugged a Nomex into the internet, and then like said you can hack it. And then 6 hours later, they tweeted saying, we've pulled it down and no one accessed it remotely. They didn't tell us anything about it, like the email address or the domain, like any kind of reasonable information you'd need to actually test it. And they did it overnight UK time. So the tweet went out at like 11 p.m. and it was down at like 5 a.m. my time. So.
All right, another one here. That is not an action a typical user would do, nor is it routine for a Nomex device.
This is such like this padlock is safe for people without a screwdriver comment.
I don't have that in this deck, but we should, maybe we'll touch on that later on. Anyway, that was fun. So moving on as well. He then created a very specialized code. Now, you only created one of them, just to be clear.
It was a singular, highly specialized code that I used here to break the device.
So also, just for a little bit of context, because I appreciate this is a piss take, and there's going to be a lot more piss taking before we're done with this. But I think it would be fair to say that you and I generally go down this path of the shaming or the piss taking normally after an organization has basically behaved like a bunch of dickheads. You know, like it normally takes some sort of stupid behavior in order to do that. And up until that point, we're normally all pretty cool about it. But it's like once it's like there is a point where you get to that point and it's like, okay, fine. we're going to go.
I think it is worth clarifying that, right? Like, you know, for people seeing this out of context or maybe for the first time or whatever, you know, like there is like a very serious element to this where we take disclosure seriously and we try and work with organizations. Like they have to really actively work against us and be seriously uncool. And bearing in mind as well, this is all like done and finished and closed as well. That's another kind of big aspect of this is, you know, this is historic now. It's not current or live or ongoing in any way.
Well, some stuff did on go. So this happened. Now, I remember this because this must have been when we were at Info Security EU in mid-2018, wasn't it? Because you were going to do a talk about Nomex, one of those kind of, what do they call it? Like an open talk where, you know, everyone can sort of wander around and see
it. It's like on the show floor. It was literally like on, you know, in the middle of all the booths and stuff. Yeah, I don't know what that's called, but.
Well, it was big and there were a lot of people standing room only, which was fantastic. And you actually give the background because you like gave them a heads up you're going to do this, right?
Yeah, and again, like, you know, this is bearing in mind this is like 1 year after the disclosures, which is like 18 months after this all started. And I was going to go do this talk, and they asked me to do a talk about a big, you know, news story thing that I'd done, and I came up with this one. And you know, like out of an abundance of trying to not be a dick, I messaged them and just said, hey, look, like I'm going to talk about this again. Do you have any updated comments, or would you like, you know, do you have a particular quote that you'd like me to use? So I was trying to, you know, I do make a super conscious effort to try and be as fair as possible. It's like, I'm going to go talk about them in a public forum where they're not going to be, and they're not going to have the right to respond, you know, at the time. So I think it's reasonable to give them the right to respond up front, and then I can include that. And that, you know, that's what I'd done. So
it was a funny event. And, oh, gee, I don't have the photo here handy, but you and I, we sort of went to Info Security EU. The day before, excuse me, it's not the virus. I've just been talking most of the day. So the day before, we'd both picked up some awards. We got like European Blogger Awards, which is fantastic. And then we got, what was the Report URI award again? Have you got that there? You must have it there.
Best emerging technology. Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. Of course I have it here. Hang on. I just need to like flex my muscles to pick this thing up because it's like as heavy as the earth.
You literally do have it under your table. That was awesome. And that bastard is heavy. Like it is, it's almost like a milled block of iron or something. I don't know what it is, but
I don't know. It's like,
it's chunky. It's chunky.
Massively thick. Best emerging technology, dude.
And look, it's a lot for you to pick up with those small hands too. So I appreciate you doing that. So we just won these awards, and then you did the talk the next day, and you've had this screen up there, and then over that screen in the talk in the big hall with everyone there, you put over the top of it, you went and did a bit of multi-award winning, which do you just have all those? Geez, man, what is it?
Of course they're on my desk. Like, where else would they be?
I don't know. I thought you'd just put them somewhere a little bit further back and like less obnoxious in the way, or well, people on Livestream just dropped all the way down to 2. But you weren't done, because you did follow it up with a bit of bitches as well, which I thought was
multi-award-winning bitches.
So there's I was sort of curious, like what on earth has happened to Nomex now. I managed to find Nomex. This is where they are now. So this is a current state of Nomex. Now, here's where it gets funny. And I think everyone's sort of figured this out already. So what I was going to do, because this is what we did when we did Cyberbroken in Oslo and London earlier on, is show the website, because the website is hilarious, right? So this is the website. Now, just explain it, because like this is just atrociously bad on so many levels, like Hillary Clinton holding the Nomex box.
I don't understand how they've not been sued by Hillary Clinton.
But also, like, is this just the worst Photoshop ever?
Yeah, it literally looks like they did it with MS Paint.
You know what gets me, right? Like, I have done a lot of Photoshop stuff very, very badly, but I spent a lot of time in Photoshop, like trying to anti-alias around edges and impose things somewhere. This is their product. Like, don't they have just one clean copy, which is properly anti-aliased and like high resolution? Like Hillary Clinton's the easy bit, or the hard bit. Surely they should just have the Nomex box that's properly anti-aliased, and they could have just dropped it in. So anyway, that was now
so fantastic.
Everyone, I think, has now kind of figured this out. And contrary to what I'm seeing a whole bunch of comments saying here, this isn't because of all the people that are now using the site, because earlier on, when I was preparing for this talk today, I went and pulled up their site as it stands today. It looks like that.
Oh, who is, I'm going to load it back up. Who is this amazing hosting company?
I thought I saw a comment here about DigitalOcean.
But DigitalOcean is just the server. So, but this looks like a hosted, is this not a hosted thing?
I don't know. If someone wants to leave comments, because from what I saw in the comments, people were, what's the right way to put this? Were very, very interested in looking into this as we were talking about it. I actually went and grabbed this into archive.org because of, this was probably about 10 hours ago I was looking at this. So contrary to the comments in here, this is not because everyone's suddenly hitting it at once. This is what the site looked like almost half a day ago. And I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. I better go and grab a snap of it into archive.org, because then later on I can show it. But no, this is what the website still looks like. And I don't know when it went like this.
Oh, I mean, I feel slightly better that we can't be blamed for breaking it now, actually. Like, no, I think that's part of the code of conduct of not getting sued is we didn't accidentally DDoS their website.
That wasn't us. Look, let's go on to stuff that's more likely to get you sued. HTTPS. So, now, of course, we have done some of this material before, and then what happens is over time, we just get like more and more and more material because more stupid shit keeps happening. But the way I explained this recently, geez, one and a little bit beers, and here we are. Recently, when we did this talk, is I said, look, we're going to talk about HTTPS flat earthers. And I had a little video here, and we'll see how this actually streams, because who knows. But I said, look, we're going to give you a bit of an example where, like, let's imagine this kid is an HTTPS flat earther. Now, everyone has an idea what the term flat earther means. And basically, the kid's just going to keep getting smacked and smacked and smacked in the head.
I love how, like, the kid sees the thing start rotating, and then he's still looking like in the direction it went, but it's circular, and he doesn't realize that he's going to come around behind him and climb him in the back of the head.
It's almost as like, almost as though something which is super, super obvious somehow still manages to go unforeseen, which I think is probably a good theme for what's about to come. So let's just jump into the stupid. Now, this is a little bit out of order to the way we've done it before. And I thought, we'll start here because this one is a suitable backdrop. I got an email from someone recently. There's a guy called Mark. Now, I haven't given you Mark's full address because I feel that people might get in touch with him after actually reading.
I love this opening. Oh boy, here we go.
This is the full unredacted, unmodified, other than the guy's full name, unredacted but unmodified version. And he's like, HTTPS is bad. And like in my brain, I'm just sort of reading down the email and I saw the first bit and like, oh, this is going to be good. Like, let's see where it goes from here. And he says, it wastes resources. Now, what you'll see as you go through this is there's no sort of substantiation of the claim. So what do you reckon, mate? Waste resources. What's going on here?
Well, I mean, HTTPS does use fractionally more resources than HTTP in some ways. It's almost just like indistinguishable. So it does use more resources. I would probably challenge the wastes part, because waste implies that you didn't get any use from it and it was just like inefficiency or something.
So, but also, actually, the good thing about doing this remotely as well, it's much easier to pull up resources because there's sites like istlsfastyet.com. So we'll drop that one over here just for a moment. So istlsfastyet.com is a really, really cool resource with content from people like Adam Langley from Google, who was around when they took Gmail HTTPS only. He talked about things like SSL TLS accounts for less than 1% of CPU load, which I think is a really, really interesting stat from an organization that's done it at serious scale as well. So, and then of course, if you do use a service or reverse proxy service like Cloudflare or something, it's not your load anyway, it's someone else's. And depending on what you're doing, you might pay them money for that too. So anyway, I thought that was bullshit, but it's like,
we should do HTTP versus HTTPS.com as well.
Well, yeah. Do I have a point on there about fast? I don't. So let's do this. Let's do HTTP versus, it's VS HTTPS.com, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's pull that one over there. Here we go. I actually love this one because it gets people really upset, and we'll see why in a moment.
Every single time I bring this up in one of my training courses, on the TLS one especially, like I have to break people up. It's like, okay, let's sit down and stop having a punch out on why this is why this is accurate and inaccurate.
Each test loads 360 unique non-cached images, 0.62 megabytes in total. And then it's like, done, please try HTTPS. So we had 12.703 seconds, HTTPS, go. And then it's like, oh, holy shit, it's done in like 1.38 seconds. Like, this is amazing. And everyone's like, what is this magic? Because I thought HTTPS was meant to be slower. Of course, the reason it's so much faster is we've got HTTPS. Oh, HTTPS, geez. We've got HTTP2. So by having HTTP2, we can get like nice binary streams and async downloads of content, and the whole thing just absolutely flies through. Interestingly, open up your dev tools and look at the water flow diagram on the network tab as this loads, and it's crystal clear then. And people lose their mind because they're like, oh, it's not fair because you're comparing HTTP 1.1 with HTTP 2. And I'm like, life isn't fair.
That's like a kid's lesson, right?
it's like grow up, sunflower. Like, this is the way life is. It's just not fair. If you and to be clear, the reason why it's an HTTPS value proposition is that no client at the moment, tell me if I'm wrong, actually, Scott, no client at the moment supports HTTP2 over HTTP. They all depend on HTTPS.
Yeah, from my experience as well. So we have H2, which is like HTTP2 over HTTPS, and then we have H2C, I think it is, which is like H2 in the clear. No one supports H2C as far as I know. And that basically means that no meaningful client supports it. So no desktop mainstream browser does. And at that point, it's basically just like, why are we talking about this?
Yeah, so from memory, HTTP2 is only supported over TLS. Yeah, there we go. So it's like, okay, well, just go around being upset that the world isn't fair. Do you want to go fast? Yep. Okay, get HTTPS. That's your starting point. So, all right. Mark is a bit unhappy about that. Complexity adds complexity. Complexity bad. What do you reckon?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it does, you know, like you have to do something. I mean, sometimes you have to click a button to get HTTPS. Sometimes you have to click, like, you know, several buttons. So maybe I can give him the complexity thing.
Yeah, but it's yeah, I don't know.
I mean, like,
how hard
sometimes
is it,
the
really?
complexity is like I clicked the button in my Cloudflare dashboard. Like,
yeah,
it's not exactly.
Maybe
you know.
maybe the fairest way to put this for Mark is to say that there are degrees of complexity, and we would argue there's a very low degree, which could be as low as I'm going to use a reverse proxy because there's a whole bunch of other really useful stuff as well, and then HTTPS is just like magic that happens. Or it could be, look, adding a certificate into your cloud provider of choice is a pretty simple thing with most providers these days anyway. So yes, there's complexity. It's very small. This is the one I love, Scott. Hit me with this one. You can solve everything HTTPS solves over HTTP. What do you reckon?
Ooh. So, I mean, well, we can narrow down the three things that HTTPS solves like quite strictly, and they are confidentiality, authenticity, and integrity of communications. So, the confidentiality aspect, we know that HTTP doesn't provide because it's a clear text protocol and everyone can read what you do. Authenticity, there's no way to authenticate a host over HTTP unless you have some other out-of-band channel. Like, please, if anyone mentions PGP in the comments, I'm literally going to ban you. And then integrity as well. Like, it's, you know, like there is no integrity over HTTP. So, like you can solve everything HTTPS solves over HTTP if you introduce something else instead of HTTPS, which is just going to be more complicated and hard. So no, you can't.
So, you know, we will come back to ways of doing it over HTTP because there's an absolute zinger later on. I just saw a comment here from someone that says, aren't you supposed to do TLS both between Cloudflare and you and Cloudflare and the end user? And like, yeah, this is the ideal situation. So you should be doing TLS on your origin server. You can get a Cloudflare origin certificate for free, which is a long-lasting certificate. So long as you can install that certificate on your origin server, then you can do HTTPS from client to Cloudflare. Cloudflare, by default, will decrypt because it does stuff like caching. It inspects traffic. It tries to block malicious things. Then it can re-encrypt traffic and go back to the origin website.
Any reverse proxy has to do that as well, to clarify. Well, like that's completely standard.
That's kind of the whole premise of it, right? I mean, otherwise, why are you using the reverse proxy anyway? It's because then you'd have to be routing everything back to the origin. You get no benefit from caching and everything else. If you have a service which can't do HTTPS at all, and I think that's getting pretty rare these days, I would still argue, and this is where people get a bit upset because, hey, it's the internet. I would still argue that I'd much rather do HTTPS from the client to Cloudflare, which mitigates risks on the client itself, let's say DNS hijacking, or the router, also DNS hijacking, mitigates risks on the local ISP, mitigates risks all the way through to their edge node. And then you're like, okay, so what is my risk now from the edge node over like T1 backbone connections back to the origin server? My risks there are things like the NSA or government level interception, which is not to say they don't matter, but if you're using cheapy hosting, you can't even load a certificate, it's probably going to be the sort of site where you're not going to be near as worried about all the other risks that you have close to the client anyway, right?
And like historically, like literally years ago, I do still have a problem with this, to clarify, because someone inevitably will go through my historic blog post and be like, hey, Scott, you didn't used to like this thing. And I still don't. Like, and, you know, I think you should encrypt to the origin. I think if you technically can't, or you're too lazy to encrypt to the origin, they're two different things. Like if you can encrypt to the origin and you don't, then that's really bad. But yeah, like I absolutely think that you should on both Report UI and security headers and my blog, which are all fronted by Cloudflare and actually back onto 3 different independent services. Like I have encryption to the origin on all of them, and it's not so hard to do. Cloudflare provides the cert, so you don't have to like go and get your own, you know, cert from some out-of-band mechanism. So yeah, like absolutely, it's, you know, I think I also agree the last mile is the most risky.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point. And you know what? I actually wrote something on this. I just remembered. I started talking about, what was it? Security absolutism. I should have got that ready earlier. Yeah, this was the one. where it's like, oh, because the internet, of course, everyone loses their mind about this. And this kind of delves into that. Holy shit, this is like nearly 4 years old already. Jeez. And we're still having this discussion. But there was a discussion in here, I think in this blog post and in general, about maybe Cloudflare should be injecting a response header that tells you which level of crypto they're using. Because I think somewhere down here, actually, I had an image of this where it talks about, where was it? Oh, here we go. This is probably a good one. So do you have, for example, flexible crypto, which is just TLS between the client and the edge node, but then nothing from the edge node to the origin? Or do you have full, which then won't validate the certificate? Or, you know, what are you running? And there was discussion about maybe Cloudflare should be surfacing that through publicly visible response headers. Have you heard anything more about that?
No, that kind of was suggested, and I won't name the employee, but it was in a public forum, so we can talk about it. But it was suggested, and again, like, I see their plight on this, in that if they surface that information, like, a lot of people might get like pointy questions on, hey, why did, you know, this Cloudflare header says you're on flexible or full strict. And like, it's a super tough one, because it would be nice to see that information, but then loads of people would just jump all over this, and it would be all blown out of proportion rather than just surfacing useful information.
And I guess the concern from Cloudflare's perspective is that the people that care about it are people like you and I, who, and probably a bunch of people watching as well, but who are a minority. The people that would be impacted by this are the customers who are paying them money. But then the bit that feels a bit dirty about it is, what if that's customers who are paying them money who really haven't configured their crypto the way they should? I still maintain that, and I've said this for a long time, and I'm pretty sure I've said to Cloudflare as well, but what I'd really like to see is to make this configurable, because I'd love to be able to go into the control panel and go, hey, for have I been pwned, like, tick the box that says it will automatically return the header from Cloudflare, which says what level of crypto you're using. But mind you, you could always just add that response header yourself too, couldn't you? Unless
Cloudflare being a reverse proxy can take control of that and make sure that you can't spoof the header to the wrong.
Well, they could, because they could strip that out if it exists. But yeah, I don't know, we're sort of going down the rabbit hole a little bit there. Anyway, so back to Mark. HTTPS encourages passive destructive behavior.
Like, we have to create certificates and then throw them away.
Think of the waste. Can't you recycle those certificates, give them to a needy child somewhere?
I mean, everyone should recycle paper though, right? Like, I put all my paper in the paper recycling. Whenever I get my artisanally crafted TLS certificates, like, I always recycle them afterwards.
Anyway, he goes on. HTTP 2 and HTTP 3 are also bad.
So we veered off the path of encryption there.
Oh, we're just getting started, because WebSockets are also bad.
Oh man, what's wrong with WebSockets? Like, what?
Well, you may have thought HTTP 2 and HTTP 3 and WebSockets all feel like they're a side node. No, they're not, because there is actually a dedicated side node. And this is where shit starts getting really weird, right? And honestly, this is a real email. I got this. Vulkan is bad.
What? Hang on, like Vulcan with a K? That's not Star Wars Vulcan, right?
I don't think so. What the hell is Vulcan?
Yeah, no, Star Wars Vulcan is a Vulcan with a C. Hang on, can I Google this? Hang on, incognito.
Vulkan is a low overhead cross-platform 3D graphics and computing API. Vulkan targets high-performance real-time 3D graphic applications such as video games and interactive media across all platforms, according to Wikipedia.
You know, doesn't... Oh, hang on. No, there's a NVIDIA thing here. NVIDIA Vulkan. Vulkan.
Anyway.
Oh, no, yeah, it's the same thing.
Let's just agree.
I think NVIDIA is good.
HDMI, also bad. Now, funnily enough.
Yeah, man, I agree. We should go back to VGA.
Remember those cables. Well, what were they, like RCA, where you had like the red, green, blue leads? Well, SCART cables. You go back to SCART cables. Just go old analog.
SCART, man. You're showing your age. What are those?
Someone actually made a comment after because we did actually show this in one of the in-person ones we did. And in fact, a few people I think were saying, look, HDMI is actually pretty shitty because of copyright protections and things like that, which then break all sorts of other things. I don't know, I find HDMI really weird. You can buy HDMI cables with virus protection.
Someone tweeted the picture. Yes.
I can find this. HDMI virus protection.
So I'm just responding to people in the comments because I literally just set you up for like a perfect kind of like opportunity joke thing. And it was just like the joke, over it goes. Well, carry on.
Sorry, I'm actually trying to work here. So here's the one. You've seen this before, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah, this is cool. Like, and to be fair, I just love the fact that there's no one, like, there's no standards body to call this out or any, like,
yeah. But
you can print whatever the hell you want on the packet and it's all good.
Anyway, he's not done.
Oh, geez.
You'll never get rid of HTTP 1.1. So just give it. I don't like the whole topic of the email is HTTPS. So why are we here? And then what I really love is the end note here. You are making the world a worse place for my child.
But like truth is you'll never get rid of HTTP 1.1. Like no one's trying.
It's like little Johnny's going to grow up in a world full of HDMI, Vulkan, and HTTP 2 or 3. It's going to be so terrible. Oh my God.
This is really funny. I do agree that you're making the world a worse place for people's children though. Like
kind regards, Mark. Jeez.
Oh.
All right. So on HTTPS, one of the things that I've found particularly interesting is this. There is a school of thought amongst, I would say, a small minority of people in the industry who probably should know better that HTTPS is a bad thing, and they have reasons. Now we're going to see some of these reasons in a moment. This is the bit we're going to try not to get sued, but they have reasons, and their logic and their reasoning is akin to what you might call a flat earther. And there was a comment, a little while ago, you know where this is going now. Comment a little while ago from this bloke. Find the whole HTTPS thing intensely frustrating. I'm now limiting myself to how much effort I put in just to compete in noise. You have the stupid peeps, obviously, but you also have the educated saying really dumb stuff like some internet flat earth nonsense. Now, as a result of this tweet, I just saw Mike Thompson's comment. He knows where we're going with this.
Yep.
As a result of this tweet, this was a problem because this took us down a rabbit hole, which I just never expected to go down. And it was absolutely fucking fascinating. Like once we started going down here, I couldn't look away. It was a train wreck. And I'm going to give some really, really good material here that for people who are actually having to stay at home at the moment is going to keep you amused for a very long time. So as soon as Flat Earth was hashtagged, this account jumped in. Flat Earth City. Now this is a real account. And they started posting like all these hoaxes and things. Let me air quote this because people say hoaxes about Flat Earth. And I haven't actually looked at this, but what is on this account now? Flat Earth City.
Oh, okay. All right, screw him.
Come on, let's look at it.
This is going to be amazing.
10,000 followers.
That's a lot.
Why are they just tweeting about Android keyboards? Who cares? Holy shit, that's a lot of uppercase there.
Yeah, as soon as you see like all caps.
Hey, it's really funny. You're going to see a theme here. Look at that last tweet. Like Google isn't malware. Because it's going to come and who's going to come. And they like the Google conspiracy theory stuff. Because they have full...
Do you think like conspiracy theories like fall into other categories as well? Like, like similarly, just like refuting, common sensey stuff. Like, do you think they just focus on flat Earth, or do you think that they have tinfoil hats for everything else as well?
Well, funny you should ask, because here we go. HIV.
No, that's
holy crap. No rights, no truth, no money. You see what I mean about going down the rabbit hole? Like you start looking. So honestly, like if you're at home quarantining or trying to just like not get sick in the first place and you have hours and hours to kill, start reading about flat Earth. It will keep you so amused for so long. You wouldn't believe it. Oh, see, now they're on the corona stuff as well. Look at this. The virus is scripted event by those who are guiding us to, holy shit. Okay, we've got to stop reading this because we will absolutely like go off on really weird tangents we never expected. Okay, so moving on, flat Earth. Now, the whole discussion somehow, and then remember, this was about HTTPS, and this bloke, Paul, before making a comment that people who were decrying HTTPS were very, very much flat earthers. So then we ended up in, here we are down here. So this was kind of funny because someone's now arguing with the flat earth account. Incidentally, like never argue with like an actual flat earther. Like there is just, you will not win out of this stuff. So this guy's saying, I took one of the photos you posted earlier that says that you said proves the earth is flat. Guess what? There is a curve. It's very subtle, but once you draw a straight line, I just find it hilarious that people are like picking up pictures of what appears to be, let's say, the Great Barrier Reef. And they're like, I can draw a line in Photoshop and it shows the earth. It's like, if only there was a better way of actually understanding that the earth is curved. Someone should have done the numbers on this, shouldn't they, Scott?
I just love it. Like, I mean, I can't. It's like I saw one guy that like zoomed in far enough on a basketball or something, and then he saw like a flat line on the basketball because he was zoomed into such like a minimal portion, and it was like, this is basically what you're looking at on the surface of the earth. And I was like, yeah, that's good enough for me.
I thought that was actually a pretty good rebuttal, but in this one, like Flat Earth jumps in. And they're like, it's ice, dude. You can watch it be flat, any pond or lake you can find. And it's like, okay, first of all, it's the fucking Great Barrier Reef, right? Like this is not ice. Like how do you—
And it's big.
That up. Also, if it was, we're going to go down that rabbit hole now. But if it was ice and it was big enough and it was frozen.
Oh no, look at the comments. Like they've got even more off-piste.
Where they go? Don't argue with idiots. They'll drag you down to their level and beat you with their experience. Anyway, so here's the bit that will keep people amused. I don't know if you've seen this one, Scott, but there is a Netflix documentary called Behind the Curve, and it's a documentary about flat earthers. Have you seen this?
No.
It is hilarious.
But why? Hang on, I need to go to Netflix now.
I watched this. This was months ago before I was trying to. Well, actually, I think this was when I was trying to amuse myself on airplanes. Now I'm just trying to amuse myself at home. But this is hilarious. It's an actual full-on documentary.
Hang on. Like behind the. I don't think about this time I watched.
I don't want to give too much of it away because honestly, like this is everyone's homework. If you have not seen this, go and do it. But there's a guy who's sort of the main character here who they're following, who's a flat earther, and they keep trying to do all these experiments to prove that the Earth is flat. And they do things like buy this super expensive laser, and then they're setting it up on a lake, and they're trying to see if there's any curvature. And they're convinced they're not going to find any curvature. And then there's actually a little bit of a curve in the lake, and they're like, "Oh shit, my laser's broken." Like I've got to go and get another laser.
That's awesome.
There's one other thing the other day. Flat dies in rocket.
Oh man.
Oh, here we go. This is actually kind of sad too. This was on the news. When was this? Last month. All right, check this out. Mad Mike.
Yeah, to be fair, like this was really sad. Like as much as I disagree with what he believes, like I think everyone should pursue stuff, and like he was obviously like so determined, and this was like a real shame. Like I have to say that.
So for those who haven't seen it, so Mad Mike was a flat earther. He decided the way that he wanted, and tell me if I get any of this wrong, mate, but the way he wanted to prove it was he would build his own rocket and he'd go up, and was he going to take some photos or just observe it or something like that?
Like I think what is it, like 40,000 feet or something like that, when you can start to begin to see the curvature, something.
So yeah, like pro tip, GoPro. Like seriously, just
GoPro
don't go up in a homemade rocket. Anyway, that one was sad. So let's move on from that. Let's move on to something different. All right, where do we start here, Scott?
This is live. Like minimize. Oh boy, woo! That's like full screen with his name and everything.
Look, it's on the public record. I'm sure we can do it. So, and it has relevancy, and we've also got to make sure that credit's given where credit's due. So. Normally when we do this in person, and I sort of put this photo up and I say to the audience, does anyone know who Dave Weiner is? and there's usually no one or like one or two hands.
Yeah, I think we had one person once.
Yeah, like one person once. And how many do you reckon we have, let's say in NDC Oslo? Probably 400 people, isn't it? Like it's a packed room.
Yeah.
So anyway, Dave's actually got significant achievements. So he was an author of the RSS format, was responsible for, which is significant. We all use RSS. Also credited for inventing podcasting. We all use that as well. So that is significant stuff. And the reason Dave is on here is because he is a bloke with influence. So 69,500 followers, which is substantial. People listen to what he has to say. And this is really sort of setting the narrative for where we're going with this. So, and I think it'd be fair to say if it was you or I as well, who are going out there making assertions about things in the technology world, it would carry more weight than someone that, no one knows.
Yeah,
so Dave also doesn't know who we are. Now, this is where it starts to get interesting.
I can go get the T-shirt.
What's that?
I can go get the T-shirt.
Do you have it?
It's like next door.
Yeah, look, I got a photo of it anyway. I should have thought about that actually. I've got it in my drawer. But anyway, this would have now been. Do you reckon this was this 2 years ago or 3 years ago? Feb 22.
Yeah, it's at least two. Like at least two for sure.
It wasn't more than 3 though. So this discussion I got looped into because Dave was having a discussion with someone about HTTPS, and someone was saying, look, Dave, you really, really need to get HTTPS on your blog. I'm just going to check now. I wonder if he's got it yet, because eventually I don't think you'll have much choice. Let's have a look. No, still not secure. So this is Dave's blog.
Dude, you need to make the future version of Chromium and look at that warning. In fact, just no, you can't restart it, can you? But yeah.
Yeah, so not exactly what you want to see on your website. But anyway, Dave is adamant. So Dave wasn't real keen on the idea of HTTPS. So someone looped me into this. And I, like pretty much all of you on this live stream at the moment who don't already know the story, I didn't know who Dave was. And I chimed into the conversation and I made this comment just here. And this was all about sort of the discussion about, does a static website need HTTPS or not? And I said, look, it's a serious risk, which is why browsers are holding sites to higher account. This is a good resource. Now, just for anyone who hasn't seen this site before, this is actually a really, really good website. Does my site need HTTPS? Let me just bring that one up over here. Yes. And okay, it's a little bit funny because everyone goes, ha, 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 yes. But then it actually goes through and gives you a whole bunch of really, really, really useful information as well. And there's lots of links to external resources and things like that. So this is a useful site to actually establishing why this position is important. And I thought, this was a very reasonable position to put forward to Dave, whoever Dave was, not knowing who he was at the time. Yeah, maybe you should go and have a read of this. And he came back with, I imagine what in his mind was a very valid technical argument, which is, you have no idea who I am, do you?
That's just
this source was like, what?
That's the ultimate argument. Like if
what?
This is like, I'm fresh out of shit to argue with.
It's like, I actually have to agree with you there. No, I don't have any idea who you are. Can we get back on topic now?
And to me, and show them why no HTTPS as well, right? Just to show who else is still left out in the cold with this.
We probably haven't updated this for a while. So this is a project.
Wait. No royalty shit.
We're all this together, mate. Dude. So this is a project that Scott and I have been working on together, where Scott sort of grabs the data. So he grabs it from the Tranco top 1 million every night about which sites are automatically redirecting. So 301, 302 from HTTP to HTTPS. I then get that data and I put it into this site and I go through and I was like, okay, so here's the largest websites in the world that don't support HTTPS. And then you can go down and say, break it down by country. So let's go to you're GB, aren't you? You're not UK, you're GB.
Yep.
So you're there. So these are the largest websites in the UK. And then you go, oh, look at this. What about this website here? At the time, Now, we don't know what it's doing now, but at the time, so this was in Jan, it's not too old, wasn't redirecting. Oh, look at that, not secure, right? So it's pretty much a name and shame list. And the cool thing about this is that I've had people reaching out saying, we've fixed our HTTPS. I imagine is what they sound like. We've fixed our HTTPS. Can you please remove us from the list because we don't want to be on that list anymore? And it's like, sweet, this is exactly what we wanted. So anyway, back to Dave. So Dave believed that my statement was made because I didn't know who he was. And then he was also confused about who I was. And I resisted the temptation to point to follow accounts or anything like that. You know what? I looked at this just before. So if I just go back a couple of slides, here's an odd thing. He had 69,500 followers before. Now, look at this, right? So, look at how many followers he has now. Ah, you can't look at how many followers he has now because I got blocked. How the hell did that happen? If only there was a way. Bam, bam. Here we go. Yoink.
Wait, you can fix that?
What's that? What magic is that?
Wait, you can fix that?
I can fix that shit, man. There's a way to do this. So he's actually lost 2,000 followers. I don't know how you lose 2,000 followers over a period of 3 years. Well, no, that would be speculation. Remember the code of conduct. So anyway, that was kind of a little weird tangential thing. And I just discovered that today. So anyway, like this was his argument. And it was just such a bullshit argument because like I'm happy to have technical discussions all day long as you are. And I have been wrong in technical discussions too. But this was super weird, right? So anyway, we'd done this at an NDC doing a cyberbreaking talk. And then you very graciously presented me with this shirt afterwards. just remember.
Don't you know who I am?
We were at Brewdog there, and you gave me that shirt when we were at NDC, and I was like, this is fucking awesome. Like, cool, let's put the shirts on, let's go have some beers. Like, let's just have a bit of fun out of it.
And just to, and that's like really indicative of our level of seriousness here. Like, we do have these bands, and like people have to remember, like there's a totally non-serious undertone here, right? Like this is not stuff that we take to heart.
It's like non-serious, but there's some truth in the heart of it. You know, the thing I still don't get, why do you look so much bigger than me in that photo?
Because I'm ripped.
No, seriously.
No, I was like, I've lost about 6 or 7 kilos since then, actually.
But like I'm a lot taller than you.
Also, remember the camera. Like, if you look at the back of the bench, like you're set back, maybe so I'm physically closer to the camera.
Maybe I can photo shit. Photo shit. it's just been such a long day.
Oh my god! It's like it's 10:20 a.m. here. This is not good.
It's 8:20 in the evening, and I'm a morning person. Like it's not infrequent for me to go to bed about now. Just saying. Anyway,
at what time?
Like 8 something. Okay, maybe 9ish. But then I often get
up.
How
do your kids put themselves to bed after you?
No, they're in bed already. Well, they would go to bed already, but then I'm often up at like 4 or 5 in the morning. So part of the problem is we don't have daylight saving here, and what that means is if I was to go half an hour south, it would be an hour later. So then I'd be in New South Wales, except I can't go to New South Wales anymore because that just got locked down. So I don't know how they work this out, but there's literally a line through 2 towns that like share shops on either side of the road, which is New South Wales and Queensland. And you're not meant to go between the states anymore. So it's like, I can go and get my milk here, but I can't go and get my bread over the other side of the street because that's locked down.
Governments.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a good idea. Who knows? Anyway, so that was cool. And it's, I felt a little bit humbled by that. I think it was very nice that you did that for me. And I was conscious that this sort of became my thing. Like I had the Dave Weiner thing, which was great, but you didn't have a thing. And then I was on Twitter.
To clarify, I do have a thing. Like...
Careful now. So I was on the Twitters and I saw this comment come up from this bloke. I think he's actually Australian. And he says, by the way, who the fuck is Scott Helme? You seem to always include him in your responses to me. Is he your alter ego, your troll account? I don't give a fuck either way. And I just felt that this, like with Dave, who didn't know who I was, these were sort of facts that would have been pretty easy to independently establish, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, aren't I literally tagged in the tweet? Couldn't you just click on my Twitter name and see my bio?
Well, the original one. But this presented an opportunity. So remember, actually, I showed this tweet at NDC London in January last year at the party talk. That's where that image was from the start. And I ended up just getting like 1,000 of these stickers, like literally 1,000 of these stickers, and handing them out to everyone. I don't think I told you this, but I ordered a shitload more the other day. Check out how many of these I've got. Hang on. Actually, I can't even show you because I'd have to move my camera around, but I've literally just got, I think it was 2,000 more I ordered. Now, I didn't foresee the coronavirus when I ordered all of these stickers. So now I've got like 2,000 who the fuck has Scott Helme stickers, and I can't go anywhere. So they're literally all sitting there in my cupboard, and I've got to figure out what to do with them. Oh. And by the time the virus is over, people might actually know who you are, and then the whole thing won't be funny anymore.
I mean, it's almost like I'm going to send a link in the chat now, just so everyone understands like my level of give a shit. You'll see what it is in a... I'm not posting it yet. I've got to wait for the feed, right? Like if I post it now, it'll spoil the surprise.
Yeah. That'll, I'll do you, or maybe that'll be delayed. Can we just agree for the sake of continuity that you don't give a shit?
Yes. I'll post it in now so that you can see it. And then everyone else will be able to see it now, even though it's probably a few seconds ahead.
By the time you finish explaining this, there we go. There we go. Is that served over? Was that an HTTP link so it doesn't waste resources?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like we can't have secure violin.
Well, we've got to make sure our children have a future as well. So anyway, I've been handing these stickers out all over the place, and it's cool. So I dumped a bunch of these again when I was actually talking to other humans face to face last month. This was, oh man, that's how soon this is. Like, that was only 6 weeks ago or something like that when I was in Sydney, and I dropped that in there. And this bloke Martin made the comment. He says, "Has anyone stuck one of these stickers on Scott Helme?" And I was like, "Yes, absolutely, we have stuck these stickers."
It's not the competition that we need.
What's that?
This is not the competition that we need.
Well, I'm going somewhere with this, trust me. So this is obviously in London. This was in January. We managed to get one stuck on you just there. Managed to get another one stuck on you here. This was on the boat cruise, I think, in London. We just see Lars behind you there as well. And we sort of got to the point where it's like, I wonder like how many stickers we can get in or around Scott questioning who the fuck is Scott Helme without Scott Helme actually realizing it. And we ended up, this was in Oslo. So this was the hotel we're staying in. And my son Ari's there, and Charlotte from NDC's there, and we're holding all the badges and everything. And remember, we were like, "Hey, Scott, just stand in front of the doorway so we can take a photo." You know, like
all the lanyards, yeah.
We'll just show how many badges we've got. We had been sticking "Who the fuck has Scott Helme" stickers on top of your doorway for like the previous 5 days, and you were walking in and out of them every single day without realizing.
No, I did realize. I just left them there because to entertain, to let you have fun. That was.
No, the first time you realized it after we got to London, and then we put this up on the big screen, and you're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, no, I mean, to be fair, like whenever I walk out of my hotel room, I'm always looking at my phone because I'm about to have to go to an elevator.
All right, note to self: don't start sticking them on the floor. So anyway, because people do get a lot of pleasure out of these stickers, I have actually put the original JPEG artwork at this URL here. If anyone would like to grab those, that would be fantastic. We don't know when we're going to get a chance to actually stick them on Scott again, but if we can start thinking about that in advance, that would be fantastic. When you do get these stickers, and I'll just leave it there for a moment later so everyone, a moment longer, everyone knows where that URL is. When you get them, don't stick them on any fish. Now, You know where we're going with this.
I remember this. Jeez.
I'll tell you what, whilst I open another beer, can you explain just the nature of some of the Twitter feedback we get?
Oh, it's just like, yeah, I mean, for anyone that uses Twitter, they're probably super familiar with this, but it's the, like, no matter how innocent or non-eventful the thing that you tweet is, there's always someone that will find like some way to make it negative. It's like, oh, Troy's got all of these stickers printed. It's a bit of, it's a bit of a laugh. It's a bit of fun. And then there's people coming in saying, oh, well, like, think of all the waste that you've created because you've like had these things printed, and like, what if someone goes and sticks them somewhere that is like, I think the thing that they said was the Great Barrier Reef. Like, what if someone goes and sticks a sticker on the Great Barrier Reef?
I'm glad you mentioned that. So here was the original tweet. So this was, oh boy, when was this? Maybe last year. Got a whole bunch of stickers. Now, to be clear, and most people listening, I think, will get it, but people get really, really excited about stickers, and they put them on their laptops, they put them in other places, they put them on you, like wherever it may be. And people really enjoy doing this. So I always take a whole bunch of these stickers wherever I go. And this person was really unhappy that they might not be able to tell their kids one day that the stickers were biodegradable. And it's kind of like, I get what you mean, but what's the saying? Pissing in someone's cereal? Like, is that the right saying?
And I think like the thing that a lot of people probably don't see as well is like, this comment was probably meant entirely like in a positive way and just, no kind of like bad aspect. And it is a very valid point to raise. I think the thing that people probably don't see from this side is like when everything that you tweet gets like 100 things like this, it very quickly becomes like quite a significant impact on you on the receiving end, because you're constantly getting like all of these things in the background, right? So like in isolation, it looks insignificant. It's the constant nature of it, I think.
But this is the thing. I mean, like I tweet something. I've got 150,000 followers now. You've obviously got a lot less. And so boy, how long we got to go? Anyway, but we tweet that stuff, and you get like a massive number of people that are very positive about things, but it's just that sort of, frankly, dickish behavior. And the measure that I always apply to this is that, is this something that someone would come and say to you in person? So Cicada, like, would Cicada ever come up to you, let's say at NDC, after we've been handing out stickers, and look you in the eye and say, hey, I'm really, upset that these stickers are not biodegradable? It's... Yeah.
So like in the grand scheme of things, is it like a little sticker that we've, like...
Do you know how many dinosaurs I had to burn to get to London in the first place? It's like the sticker's not a problem.
Oh boy.
Actually, this
it's
tangential topic.
It's the most insignificant of things. Like, there's a million ways that I actively try and reduce like my impact on the environment. And I think like a small, literally like a handful of stickers that you take with you somewhere is not... they're really not the impactful things that I do to try and reduce my impact on the environment. So I just feel like it's focusing on kind of the wrong thing as well.
So anyway, that was a bit of a theme. So there's another one here as well. This is, someone, and put it from this perspective, and you'll see another series of tweets in a moment as well, which kind of illustrates this, but someone is excited about something, obviously they're happy to get this, and I'm happy to see someone happy having this. And then this bloke jumps in. He's like, I'm sure the Great Barrier Reef will be pleased. It's like, all right, well, don't stick it on the fucking Great Barrier Reef. Like, do not put them on the sharks and the fish, which of course is why the person tweeted that photo before. It's like, you can be responsible with this stuff.
And this is kind of the point, right? It's like, like of all the things out there, like this is nowhere close to the top of the agenda. And that's not to say that it's not important, because it is. And we should think about this in pretty much all aspects of our lives. And I do, but it's like, really just like, let's just try and be a little bit nicer to each other on the internet.
Well, maybe a little bit of context as well. So look at that picture, look at the sticker, look at what he's about to stick it on. Like what do you think the thing is that we should be worried about in terms of environmental sustainability?
And also, like, for people non-UK, the document that it's on top of is from the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Agency in the UK here, and is a registration for a motor vehicle, which, based on statistics, most likely explodes dead dinosaurs to move.
We will get to motor vehicles. Don't you worry about that. That's in here too.
Oh boy.
But just as a theme, you know, I mean, here's another one. So this was just last year. So this was when I got inducted into the Info Security something Hall of Fame. So, you know, the thing that I was obviously excited about, and the overarching theme that I'm trying to express here is that there are things that, and you and I have had this discussion so many times, we're going to see an example of yours in a moment too, where you have something that you find pleasurable in life, that you're excited about in life, and then someone just wants to come along and just be a dickhead about it. And I don't understand that mentality. And I can't imagine Max, again, like coming up to me somewhere and going, you know, fame, and it wasn't even the fame thing. You know, it was just like, we spend so much of our time.
He so clearly outlined in the tweet, like, so this is cool because fame is everything in my life. Like, that's clearly what you said. So obviously, you know.
Ah, jeez. I just don't understand the necessity to do that. But like I've said this many times before publicly as well, imagine the things that we tell our kids, right? Like you tell your kids, I remember my mum and dad telling me long before we had the internet, it'd be like, don't say something about someone unless you wouldn't say it to their face. Like basically just don't be a dick about this stuff unless it's a discussion that you'd be willing to have in person. Anyway, speaking of cars, so I got a new car a little while ago. And I was very, very excited about this car. And if anyone wants to talk about the car later on, please leave a comment there, and we'll definitely come.
And I've driven this car. This like, to be fair, I'm a car person as well. Like, I have to give it to you. This is an exceptionally nice car.
Well, that depends on your perspective. You know, there's another person here, and to be clear, I think Scott's kind of outlined this as well. This is not us having like an anti-environmental theme or anything to that effect. It's more the sentiment that people are very happy to pop up and be derogatory or negative about something which you're obviously happy or excited about. Now, the follow-up to that, I think, is somewhat relative. So, but
that's a good response. I'm going to make note of that. That's fantastic.
Now, speaking of you, there's another tweet. So,
and look, okay, now let's talk about nicer cars than Mercedes.
Let's talk about Scott's car. Now, Scott, you got in trouble for this. Now, normally when we're there in front of a studio,
we just need to admire the beauty, like for just a minute. Like this is my pride. This is my baby.
It's pretty dark and cold there, Scott.
It was nighttime. Like that's what happens when the sun goes down.
Doesn't get cold.
It looks so much better than this. I feel like we need a better photo.
Well, I'll tell you what. Next time you tweet photos of your racist car, make sure the photo is better, because this is where the discussion ended up going. Now, for everyone watching this, try and figure out what it is about this that's racist. Now, when we have done this in an audience before and there's like non-30-second latency responses, people are like, is it because it's German? And it's like, well, I never got those comments about my car. That one's German as well. So, Scott, explain where you went wrong with your choice of vehicle.
I mean, like, I can't even, like, I'm just, like, first of all, I'm going to do two things. First of all, I'm going to get up a better picture and also allow for the stream delay, because I'm genuinely curious what people are going to say in the stream, because this is just so ridiculous. We had the German thing. I thought maybe because it's German and people don't like the Germans. That wasn't it. I wondered if it was like, does it say hate? Does it spell something in some other language? Is it like H8, I hate you? You know, like, is that the problem? And it was like, nope, that's not the problem.
Just look at the comments. Scott can't use blinkers, confirmed.
Hey, I literally every single week I go outside and top up my blinker fluid, right? They always work. Like, there's nothing wrong with my blinkers.
So here's the funny thing, right? There's a couple of people that are picking up on a Hitler theme, but it's not the one that's going to come up.
It's the wrong Hitler theme, yeah. Like, this is I can't even believe that we're talking about this. Like, how utterly ridiculous is this? So it was because of the H at the beginning of my license plate. We call them registration plates here in the UK. Are they rego plates in Oz as well, like reg plates?
We do normally call them number plate. It doesn't need to have a number.
Yeah, no. So we usually call them registration plates. So my registration plate, my reg plate here in the UK, begins with a H. So the format in the UK the first two letters dictate the geography. The 2 digits dictate the year that the car was manufactured. And then the last 3 letters are just like a unique combination to make it unique. So you're kind of fixed on the first 4 and the last 3 are almost freeform. So I bought this one, which is Helme. So in the UK, like if you were to air quote read a license plate, you just drop the digits like as you read it in your head, because we ignore the year of manufacture. So I got my surname on my license plate. I thought this was kind of like, okay, it says my surname rather than just a random jumble of letters. And then everyone was like, what was the first comment that I got? There was like a really super bland one that was like, you're a Nazi. And it was like, I even hate saying the word, but it was like that simple and that direct. One of them was like, I can't believe you have this. And I'm like, straight up, like, I don't understand. Like, I'm not. And my first thoughts went straight to German car. And I'm like, well, this is ridiculous. Like, you know, and it actually took someone.
That does exclude rather a lot of options if you weren't allowed to have a German car.
Well, and this is kind of like why I was super confused at first, because I didn't get that context in the initial tweets and a DM that I got as well. And I was like, well, like, you know, I don't understand what I've done wrong. Like, someone needs to explain this to me. It is a bit mad. Like, it is a bit crazy.
But I don't think you've actually gotten to the whole issue yet, because the issue was related to the number in the middle, wasn't it?
Yes. So I thought it was related to the first letter or like something like that, but no, it's the number 8. So apparently the number 8 is like a secret, air quoting secret there, is a secret indication of the letter H. So H being the 8th letter of the alphabet. I have an 8 on the front of my car and an 8 on the back. So it's like 88. And that is apparently some, like, you know, hugely disgusting symbol of stuff that we, you know, like nobody needs in the world. And I was just like, I would have never gotten there. Like, I would have never, ever figured this out if someone hadn't helped me. And I was like, this is just so... I'm like, how did you even put those 2 things together, right? Like, people are tweeting me and I'm getting DMs about this. And I'm like...
And it wasn't just like one either, right? Like, it was multiple people. And
I got several tweets and a couple of DMs.
From memory, the issue wasn't even the 8. It was the 8, which represented the 8, which is the 8th letter. And it's like, I literally have an H. Like, why isn't that the bad one? But you know what? Every single time we start, and maybe this is where you actually do need to change your number plate. Every single time we start talking about this and saying, can anyone see what the racist connotation is? People start picking up on the word hail.
Yeah. That's definitely, and looking at the comments here as well, like, there's a lot more, I don't want to use the word logical. That's really not the word that I want to use here. But there were a lot of things that I went through first before I got anywhere remotely close to what people were actually mad at.
Yeah. Anyway, what we're talking about, HTTPS.
Right, hang on. I'm going to tweet a better picture of my car right now. Hang on, because like then we're going to share that in the link.
All right. Send the link.
Hang on, here we go. Better photo for the live stream. The love stream. Oh, I'm going to leave that, actually. That sounds better.
Love stream. But don't do that, mate. Not when you're streaming.
No, I'm going to correct that because I just realized what it sounds like when I said it out loud.
Yeah.
Yep, that's auto
Twitter
fail.
will censor that shit right out. Don't you worry about
that. Right, so I'm going to put that into the love stream. Oh shit.
Okay, let's tell you what, let's go on. People have.
Oh no! Someone's just come up with a worse thing in the comments.
What's that?
Like, the number 1 is A, so it's actually AH. So like, everyone with a car manufactured in like a whole year in the UK is in trouble.
I think we need to move past that topic.
Yeah, this is just stupid.
Let's go back to HTTPS. So, you know, I showed you the 2 tweets from Dave.
Yes.
So here's the first tweet.
What happened?
I don't know. It's just like I took a backup, because these things do get accidentally deleted at some time.
Isn't this just like erasing the history of the internet because Twitter's HTTPS?
If only he understood the internet. Here's the second tweet. So that one didn't work out too well either. But let's get into the meaty bits, because this is sort of gets us back on topic to the whole cyberbroken theme as well. So,
there was a reason we were here.
Yeah, no, this is it. We just went off on a total, like, again, we've mixed it all up from usual. So he has reasons for his dislike of HTTPS. Now, I'm going to show the reasons that he has, and then you're going to respond and go, okay, here is how I feel about this reason. So here's the first one. He says, so now Google points a gun at the web and says, do as we say, or we'll tell users your site is not secure. What they're saying doesn't stand up to a basic bullshit test. There's nothing insecure about my site. Oh, what do you reckon?
This is like such a common thing. Like people will say, oh, I don't accept credit cards. There are no form submissions. I don't ask users for passwords. Like any such kind of explanation. And like, it's focused solely on the idea that an attacker on the network is just someone passively listening and would record your password or credit card number or something else. And it completely omits like the whole active attacker on the network thing, where people are putting shit into your web pages that wasn't there in the first place. So it doesn't matter whether you didn't have a login form or this piece of JavaScript or whatever else, like the attacker is going to put it there. So it's, like these arguments fail the basic bullshit test because you're completely omitting like an entire category of attacker who are the more dangerous ones anyway, and not protecting against them.
So, and this is really, I think, what gets overlooked, where there's an assumption that HTTPS is about protecting yourself as a site operator, as opposed to your customers. So I wrote this one a little while ago. You've seen this a little while ago. Well, 18 months ago, not too long ago, which was basically just taking a website and going, look, here's all the stuff you can start to do to it if it's over HTTP. It doesn't matter that it doesn't take credit cards or passwords or things like that. So, I think that's still very, very relevant today. And of course, if we go to, let's just go to Let's Encrypt and stats, and we look at the amount of stuff that's actually loaded over HTTPS these days, it's kind of amazing to think that we still have a bunch of stuff that isn't. So if we go to percentage of web pages loaded by Firefox over HTTPS, we're at like, what are we at the moment? 81.5%, which is a really significant portion of internet.
90 for the Americans, which most of the...
Why is the US so much higher, actually? Serious question.
Because the page load, because this is page loads. So I would say if you count like Google, Facebook, and Twitter as American, they're going to heavily skew the data.
Yes, but this is talking about the audience, right? So we're just saying that.
Oh, so is this the geography? Oh, yeah, I guess so. This would be the geography of the user then, actually.
Well, if it's telemetry of Firefox users, it'll be people on Firefox. Also, why are the USA and Japan the only ones broken out?
I don't know. Maybe there's someone from Let's Encrypt listening.
You want to see an interesting one? Well, I can't show it to you, but one that would be interesting: break out China. What do you reckon China gets?
Oh, I mean, aren't they the line along the bottom, or is that just the x-axis?
Oh, boy. Wow.
Wait, what was the code of conduct? Shit, take that back. We know it's significantly lower there by looking at the Wino HTTPS site as well, right? Like it's...
Yeah, which we kind of covered. All right, so let's move on. Back to Dave. He says, it will destroy the web's history. It's like a massive book burning at a much bigger scale than ever done before.
No, I know where he was going with this, and he was saying like websites that aren't maintained will never be on HTTPS. So like, because they'll never be converted, we'll eventually lose them or something. And it's all based on the idea that HTTP is going to stop working, which is actually the part that is wrong, because no one is talking about deprecating HTTP. So those unmaintained websites can literally stay there forever. And if they're unmaintained, they'll probably fail because of other reasons first anyway.
I think this is sort of the problem, right? Where there is an assumption amongst some, it's not just Dave, it's other people as well, that Google and it's not Google as well, because it's just a bullshit argument. Somebody within the web or some sort of group of people are thinking that we need to kill everything that serves our HTTP. And I've just seen absolutely zero evidence that there's any initiative whatsoever to kill stuff loaded over HTTP. There's lots of evidence to flag it as more actively dangerous, but no evidence that it's actually going to be removed altogether.
Yeah, like 100%. Like no, and I follow the browsers really closely because I want to keep up to date on this stuff. But like no browsers have even mentioned the deprecation of HTTP unless they've been asked about it, in which case they've said there are currently no plans to deprecate HTTP. So it's just not happening. Yes, there is like a really big focus and a drive on HTTPS, which we need. And you can see from that Let's Encrypt graph just how much progress has been made in a phenomenal amount of time. And we need to keep pushing that. And then remember that there's other protocols after HTTP as well. Like, this is the other thing that worries me. Everyone's like, oh, let's just encrypt the web that loads in the browsers and then we're good. I'm like, nope, there's a zillion other things after that, like probably email first, that we need to keep doing.
Well, I mean, I think this would probably explain why there's never a reference provided after these comments, is it? Because there are no bloody references. If the web becomes so polluted with man-in-the-middle attacks, I can think of quicker workarounds. Now, hold your thoughts on this. Hold your thoughts on this. For example, I could send the reader a zipped archive of a website. Go for it.
I mean, like, okay, like, I'm trying to be as fair as I can. Like, yes, you could send the reader a zipped archive of the website, but the archive, like, obviously would have to be secure. So you'd need, it'd have to be like password protected in some way so that the user could download it and make sure an attacker didn't unzip it, change it, and rezip it. But then you'd somehow need to communicate the password to the user. But then it'd have to be done on a per user basis, because if you had a universal password, the attacker could just universally unzip it, change it, and rezip it. So now we need like per user generated passwords, and then you need to somehow securely transport that password to that user and make sure they don't have the password intercepted. So, like,
I'm just impressed that you actually gave it that much thought.
Well, I'm trying to be as reasonable as possible, right? Like, I'm trying to understand their perspective, but there's no way that this works that isn't considerably harder than the way that we do it now, which is HTTPS.
Anyway, that was Dave. And again, like the context here is we're talking about someone who has influence that's making assertions which, keep in mind the code of conduct, let's say inconsistent with industry consensus. Would that be fair? Safe?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's move on.
I just noticed you've changed your background. Now you need to do the slidey thing with the green screen.
You want to do it again? It's cool.
But make sure you like.
See, I've got to be talking, because if I'm not talking,
you've got to go. Right, maybe you need to kneel down. Like, kneel down, and then you're behind the kangaroo.
You put it like this.
Yeah, that's it. Now just slide it up and down. Wow, it's literally like giving children a new toy.
Can you imagine what it's going to be like after like 3 months of isolation? We'll be absolutely losing our minds. All right. Maria Johnson. Now, this one is an interesting case. And boy, all right. Code of conduct. For those of you just joining, our code of conduct was basically just don't get sued. So she is a self-professed cyber security / SEO expert. Interesting. Also a self-professed psychic. Not two capabilities you often see joined together very often. So, this is going to be interesting. Also not something you often see with those other capabilities of being reincarnated 18 times. Now, this is not hearsay. Like, this is like, you have seen this, right? Like, this is literally on, it was on her website, it's in her books.
These are like verbatim quotes.
These are verbatim quotes. Like, this is not alleged, right? There is no.
Well, I mean, it is alleged by her about herself.
Oh, it's alleged by her. But this is, I think it is fair to put this in a bullet point. Anyway, the relevancy of having her here is that she has 200,000 followers. Now, 200,000 followers is a very, very substantial number. So when she talks about something, obviously there's going to be a lot of people that are listening to it. And if she then makes assertions about certain things that would be relevant to, I guess, the industry perception of things like HTTPS, well, that I think that is fair game. That is something that we can then have a discussion about. Now, unfortunately, I can't see her tweets. There is no possible way of me seeing her tweets because I got blocked. You know what? It's one of these weird things. It's like, I remember where I was when I got blocked. I was in a hotel in Copenhagen. And I think that you and I were having a discussion with her and you got blocked as well, right?
Yeah, I'm literally just loading it up right now to check.
Yeah, well, you're about to see something interesting, but don't say it yet because I showed this at one of the cyber breaking talks we did, because somehow magically her followers have gone from 200,000 to only 91,500. And it does sort of beg the question, how does someone lose more than 50% of their followers? So question for the audience to ponder on, like, how does an account lose more than half their followers? What do you reckon, Scott? What has to happen?
That was the Twitter call, like when they ban-hammered all the bot accounts.
Bots. So it could definitely be a bot thing. Now, I thought that.
Oh no! Okay, I just saw the thing that yeah.
You're about to see it. So I thought, okay, so I will load her profile up just to show people that I'm banned, and then I'll go incognito, and it's like, haha, I can still see her tweets, and there'll be some batshit crazy tweets in there, and then we can see how many followers she has now. Unfortunately, we can't see how many followers she has now because the account has actually been suspended.
Whoops.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Now, yeah, of course, this then begs the question, like, how on earth did you get suspended? What was it that she said? Well, let's start having a look at some of the things she said. I'm going to show you the messages and you're going to talk about what it is that is kind of crazy about this. So first thing is, encrypting all pages on your website will only slow them down.
Okay, so historically, yes. Like historically, and by historically, I mean like 2008 or earlier. Like I would give her this. Unfortunately, what we find is like the advice from years gone by tends to hang around and haunt us long after it's no longer applicable. So from like 2008 onwards, a properly configured site should not be expecting to see any real difference. So like I would say no on this, no nowadays, but like I have to give her some credit where it's due for the historic accuracy. It's probably just outdated advice.
Okay, so this might just be old school thinking. All right, let's move on. Website owners can use firewalls to secure data on pages which do not need encryption.
Man, this is just like, this just reminds me of being like contracting back in the finance sector when everything was fixed with a WAF, even though like a WAF wasn't the solution. Is that a drop bear?
Maybe. So
it's not a child friendly. You're going to have to age rate the stream now.
I can't leave the green screen alone. Hang on, when you say we have to age rate it, do we have to drop it or raise it?
Raise it. Like, what is it now? It'd be unrated, right? Or did you already put it on it?
I did not get the choice. Zoom doesn't give you the option, but I can.
Okay. But yeah, like WAFs fix things on the way in, not the way out, and HTTPS fixes things like mostly on the way out.
Okay. All right. So that one's pointless. There are also cost issues such as buying SSL certificates and dedicated IP address.
Again, like super like dated advice, because prior to the introduction of SNI, server name indication, you did need a dedicated IPv4 address for each host because you couldn't virtual host and have HTTPS at the same time. So again, like super old advice, like that did used to be true. And the same again for the SSL certificate thing. Nowadays, we have Let's Encrypt, which does free certificates. We have Bypass, which does free certificates. And then pretty much like every major platform, you know, if you're behind a CDN like Cloudflare, they do free certificates. AWS like do free certificates. It's, yeah, like 10 years ago, I could have had a really good conversation about both of these, but not today.
Okay, so I think we agree that there's maybe some inconsistencies there, but maybe historically relevant. Remember, your website's visitors use all kinds of browsers and apps on mobile and smartphones. They are not ready for HTTPS. Now, just to be clear about the time frame here, we are talking about a time that was only a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but still 2 years ago, like we had the vast majority of devices like capable of doing some level of HTTPS, of TLS or SSL v3, if you're still going back far enough. So like website visitors aren't using an app. They're probably using a browser on a desktop or a smartphone platform. And yeah, I don't think we have concerns apart from the recent changes with legacy TLS, I really don't think we have too big a concern here.
Okay, all right. Maybe a legacy thing again. What about this one? Some are on domain validation, which is 2048-bit SHA-42 SSL TLS encryption. The encryption key is limited, which means you can use on a few pages and has a limited bandwidth.
Ow, hang on, wait. So somewhere on domain validation, so DV, domain validation, is accurate. Like that's a type of certificate that basically every website in the world uses, which is 2048 plus bit 42 SSL.
Well, can you go back? How did you pronounce that?
2048 bit SH 42. So 2048 bits is how big our RSA keys should be at the minute. So 2048 plus bit SH may be related to SHA, but there's like 42, the answer to life, the universe, and everything.
I hadn't actually thought about that angle until you just said it. That's an interesting one.
So yeah, I mean, this just looks like we cut and paste together parts of primitives and just made our own primitive. Like, this is just weird. And then you can use a few pages, has limited band weight. Like, I do notice that my page, like if I put them on a pen drive and carry them, I do notice that my encrypted pages are heavier, but it's not something that I care for. I don't know, dude. It's just like someone took my TLS training course and just like mashed the keyboard with like random selections of words and then came out with this.
And like, again, just for context, this is not to sort of to pick some random person off the internet and throw them under the bus. This is someone who, at least at the time, and obviously no longer, has had a very significant following, and frankly says some batshit crazy stuff. And to be clear, also, we said this earlier on, but I appreciate people drop in and out as well. I can't think of a case for either you or I where we've ever just sort of picked someone up and started berating their views without there having been some kind of dialogue and frustration that's led to that. And I do remember that the case with Maria was that we were trying to have a very valid civil discussion with her. Someone can probably find this on Twitter somewhere. And it just went off the rails so quickly, where she was so staunch in her views, clearly just had absolutely no idea what she was talking about, and really just didn't want to discuss it any further, which brings us to this guy, because this is the same situation. And interestingly enough, like often I ask people, like, do you know who Neil Patel is? And I think based on our code of conduct about not getting sued, we won't repeat what most people say when we ask that question, but maybe Google and make up your own mind. Anyway, Neil is an SEO expert who evidently also likes pajamas. It's still not clear why he is wearing pajamas. I found that a rather fascinating
There's a theme here. Like, SEO expert is a common, like, is that a thing?
I learned a lot between him and Maria, right? And one of the things I learned, this is a very, very sort of strange thing to me, is an SEO expert is referred to as an SEO. Which, you're
an SEO?
Which to me is kind of odd, because it's like an search engine optimization. Like, isn't that something that Google would run?
You're an SOB.
I don't know. Anyway, so here's the relevancy, right? So the guy had at the time, and I haven't checked again now, someone can check this up in the comments, 923,000 people liking his page, 925,000 following, like going on 1 million. Like, this is a really, really substantial number. Now, we could speculate how many of those might have been the same type of followers that Maria had for a while there. I don't know. Let's do that again. Same type of followers that Maria had. We don't know. But yeah, it was an odd number. So anyway, he popped up a couple of years ago, and he did this video about needing an SSL certificate. He's saying, do you need an SSL certificate? And he published this via Facebook, and I watched it, and it was one of these cases where I think, per the discussion we just had, a lot of this was very out of date thinking. It was things like, look, if you're not processing credit cards or passwords, then you really don't need SSL, so on and so forth. And incidentally, we do say SSL as this very colloquial term now, which refers to TLS or any sort of encryption over HTTPS. Let's not go down that rabbit hole of discussion as well. And he made these comments, and a friend of mine popped up and pointed me to it. And she said, look, you know, this guy, he's obviously got a few misunderstandings here. Maybe you want to leave some nice feedback. And I thought, you know, I will leave some nice feedback. So I actually found this because it's in a blog post that I wrote. And this is the feedback that I left. And I think, you know, obviously we're not going to read through the whole thing, but to me at least, the tone here is factual. It's friendly. I've got a smiley face at the end of it, so you know that I'm friendly. It's got links.
Just to let them know that I'm a friend, not a foe.
It's got links through to resources, all this sort of thing. So, you know, it was very legit. And for some reason, I actually left Facebook open in a browser on my PC and then went to bed, locked the PC and went to bed. Do you ever find that's funny? Like, do you lock your PC in your own house and go, oh, I'm glad that's safe. Oh, if someone breaks in the middle of the night and I get murdered, they won't be able to take my PC. You know?
Like if I stand up, it's like Windows key L. It's like built into me. It's literally like, I don't trust my wife or my child.
It's like the people who have access to you whilst you're sleeping and prepare your food, and you know, it could be much worse. Anyway, so I left this comment, and to me, this was the hallmarks of a good comment. It was constructive, it was useful, resource, all this sort of thing. And I got up in the next morning, and it had been deleted. And I think I noticed on like my mobile device it had been deleted, and I went back to my PC and said, it's still open, and I screen capped it. And I was angry because he had actually gone through and deleted every comment that disagreed with him. So all of the comments which are like, oh, thanks, Neil, this is really awesome, like they were still there. And every single comment which was like, yeah, no, maybe not, those ones had gone. So I ended up deciding, look, I should actually write a blog post on this. And you'll see the title of this blog post is Don't Take Security Advice from SEO Experts or Psychics, which was sort of it was like a combination of Maria and Neil's greatest hits in terms of their advice. And, you know, in the very opening of this blog post, so people can go and find this is still there, I sort of said, look, I'm not an SEO expert. I don't know what I'm doing with that. I do spend a lot of time thinking about cyber things though, so I've probably got an idea of what I'm talking about there. Now, I made it very clear that I'm not an SEO expert, but I also made it very clear that I wanted to use Neil Patel's name 38 times in the blog post because there's just a little bit about SEO that I do understand.
It's not that simple anymore, is it?
What do you reckon?
I thought we were past the days of just like putting shit 38 times in a blog post. Hang on, Neil Patel.
Oh boy. You know, I'm going to try this again because I tried it just before and it worked, but I'm wondering, I don't think it was incognito.
Neil Patel Security, you're first, he's second.
Bam, thank you.
And then hang on, if we do like Neil Patel Troy Hunt, you're also, oh wow. Oh dude, he's not first page. Oh, how am I first? I'm before him. If you Google Neil Patel Troy Hunt, I'm on the front page before him.
Have you thought about giving him some SEO advice?
Yeah, hang on. I need to go change my Twitter profile. Okay.
No, go put your pajamas on first. Come back and then get in touch with him.
I only have this T-shirt on. That's why I can't stand up.
Okay, stay seated. Fun times. Anyway, let's get on to what he said. So here were some of his points. He said, if you don't have sensitive information on your site, you're not selling a product or a service, there is no checkout page, you don't need a certificate. Now, I think we've kind of touched on this, but what is this wrong?
This is basically what led us to essentially having like the entire Firesheep issue, right? Of like this idea of mixing between sites and transitioning from HTTP to HTTPS. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure, like, if anybody wants to know why this really just doesn't apply, just go read up about Firesheep and how it worked and what it did, because, like, this idea that there are, air quote, like, sensitive and non-sensitive pages where you can have a mixture of HTTP and HTTPS, we debunked this probably a decade ago.
So Firesheep, I'm going to just get the image of it here for those who never got to see it. It was super, super cool. Let's just get the image alone, a new tab, then we can kind of zoom into it. So this was created by a guy called Eric Butler, and he made this extension that you could install into Firefox. You could take your laptop down to an internet cafe. If you've got a laptop with a network card that can go into promiscuous mode, monitor mode, you can see network traffic around you, unencrypted network, you can see packets. You can then see packets sent via the likes of, say, Facebook, Twitter, Flickr, which at the time, this was 2011 era from memory. Auth tokens were still sent in cookies unencrypted. It basically just automated the process of session hijacking. So that was sort of one of these watershed moments, as we call it, where we're like, oh yeah, maybe it's not just like passwords and credit card details. Maybe we've actually got to be a little bit conscious about things like auth tokens, which are also a secret that we don't want to expose.
And if you have a cookie, basically every page, right? Like that's, you know, we're out of the realm of sensitive and non-sensitive pages then.
This is the easy thing now, right? It's just like HTTPS all the things and just be done with it and get on with life and stop worrying. Unless you Neil.
Netflix bug, like last week or the week before.
Was that?
The Netflix bug from like, I don't know, it was like a week or two ago. So I think it was one of the clients, maybe on Windows or something like that, does auth, obviously talks to a lot of APIs on different subdomains and things as well. And one of them was still plain text, and it was leaking people's actual Netflix auth token because it was making a request to a subdomain and including the auth token.
So obviously no HTTPS preload, no include subdomains.
Yeah, nothing like this at all. And I think then there was a whole hoo-ha about the fact that he raised it through a bug bounty. They said non-issue, not fixing, and then it was published, and then it was like, whoa, non-disclosure, blah, blah, blah. Then there was like a totally separate argument. But yeah, like this is literally like 2 weeks ago in 2020, and we're still having the same, literally the same conversations.
So anyway, Neil goes on. He says, HTTPS, it doesn't help, you know, increase security.
The S in HTTPS stands for security. Yeah, this is just funny, right? Like,
do you ever get the sense that we're just going to be doing this for like years and years and we'll still only ever scratch the surface of material?
Like I was just looking then and like, yeah, I mean, number one, we're going to have infinite material for this forever. But number two, like I've just looked over here to try and clarify the date. So Google has been using HTTPS as a positive search ranking indicator since 2014. So do we have SEO people here saying that HTTPS is bad after it became a positive indicator in the largest search engine in the world? Like, yeah, I'm just, so, I like to check these things before I say them out loud, but I'm pretty sure that that's a bit dumb.
My understanding of it was that as a ranking indicator, it had pretty minimal value, something like 1% of the SEO value. But,
oh, for sure. Like I'm sure it's tiny, and they have a million indicators, but it's still an indicator.
Yes, but also, you look at how much shady shit websites do to try and improve SEO, and you're like, hey, here's something good you can do, which is almost instantaneous, depending on use case. And it also gets you SEO. So anyway, so Neil Patel, so this is what his site looks like now. Well, actually, this is what his site looked like when I screen grabbed this, which would have been probably more than a year ago, but it's the same now. It's still over HTTPS. Now, you've also written a blog post about this, which I really like because I really like this title. HTTPS anti-vaxxers.
Words that you wish you had.
Anti-vaxxers?
Like, this brought on as much pain as mentioning flat earthers. I think is probably actually what I should say there. Like,
can you elaborate at all?
I mean, to me, like maybe this word means like culturally different things around the world, but like from my perspective, this just means someone who goes against the evidence, right? Like it's just a simple term. It's not offensive or anything in any way. It just means someone who goes against the evidence. Apparently in other parts of the world, like this can be like incredibly offensive to people. Like maybe a different social norm or something, but yeah. So people got really upset about this, and then people get really aggressive in their responses as well, I found.
Are they the same people that think coronavirus is just like a little cold?
Well, yeah, like I keep getting told that from, you know, from people that have no qualifications in the medical field.
Hey, just make sure you don't let them tell you that face to face, all right? Like, make sure you're like, you know, over the internet or something like that. I think that's
you can tell me that from at least 2 meters away. Yeah,
oh,
100%.
All right. You know how we had no sort of end time for this? We've been going for 2.25 hours and we've still got stuff to go.
What? Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
Wow. We can talk shit for a long time.
Okay. We've got 180 people left. We had a little bit of attrition. I tweeted it again before and it popped back up, but you know, who knows? Hey, if we keep going long enough, America will be getting up. We'll be fine.
I'm going to be hammered before lunch.
Let's go on to the next one. So, another favorite of yours, Trustico.
Oh, these guys are cool. Like this was funny, to be fair. Like this is pretty hilarious.
So this was the headline. CEO of Trustico emails 23,000 HTTPS private keys, triggering panicked mass revocation. Can you explain what happened here?
Yeah, so Trustico are a reseller of certificates. If you go to their site, they just they basically just resell the brands. Super common thing, nothing particularly noteworthy about that. Except what people didn't really know was when you were buying them through their website.
I'm not sure.
Oh, my Alexa.
Was that your watch?
No, it was my Echo on the table. She's listening. So yeah, like when you buy them through their website, they were keeping a copy of your private key. Now, whenever you get a certificate from a CA, you absolutely should never send them your private key, and you should never let them generate the private key in CSR and send them back to you. Like you should generate the private key locally and send the CSR to the CA. Now, when you go through their web UI, that wasn't the process. It's just like, hey, click buy certificate, type in the stuff and download the bundle, which included your private key. Unfortunately, they were, as it turned out, keeping copies of people's private keys. And then I think, like, I go and check this. I think they changed, like, the CA they were reselling or something like that happened, which is a total non-event. And I think what they were trying to do was to force everybody to, like, repurchase new certificates from their new supplier. And it was like, hey, if we just revoke and kill all of the ones that they've already bought, then they'll die and stop working. And then they'll have to like rebuy new ones. So this was a super shady move, like a really shady thing to do. They shouldn't have had the private keys anyway. And like, there was just a heap of stuff. There was just a heap of stuff about this. It was just really, really shady and deserved to be called out.
Let's drill down into that because there was an interesting tweet thread here. So this was, wow, this is almost 2 years ago already. There's like, in a way, this kind of all feels like old news, but it's also really relevant too. So Trustico says, I clarify, Mr. Trustico says, we had the keys because a portion of our customers used two services, one which Semantic approved the design and funded to generate the CSR, certificate sign request, and private key upon request. The ICO, which is your Information Commissioner's Office, required in both cases that we store them for a reasonable period of time, validity plus 1 year. What do you reckon?
So, like, no, like absolute heaps of garbage. I mean, like, I don't care who designed or funded, like, whatever system. Like, it's called a private key. The clue is in the name. It just shouldn't ever touch someone else's infrastructure. No one should have it. So, like, I don't care who designed or built what. Like, we just shouldn't be letting other people have our private keys. The ICO, as Troy said, our Information Commissioner's Office here in the UK, it's our government data privacy watchdog, requires us... required that we store them for a reasonable period. I love how they say like reasonable period of time, and then it's like validity plus 1 year, which there is no reasonable excuse for. And also like the ICO, if they ever did give guidance on crypto stuff, it would probably go the other way, but they don't give guidance on crypto stuff. I know that. So this is just a heap of garbage.
Okay, well. And that's pretty consistent with what you're implying in the tweet thread as well. Now, you kicked off with sort of reasonable and validity not going anywhere near each other in a sentence, which is, I think your premise there is that this should just never happen in the first place. So, no, there is no reasonableness here.
Someone's just posted a really good comment in the YouTube comments, and it was like, "How is Symantec approved?" Like air quotes, Symantec approved a good thing in the context of CAs. And, that was from Cynthia, who's like a phenomenally awesome PKI/certificate person, and like this is a scathing burn because Symantec got kicked out from being a CA for their terribleness. So this is an excellent point.
But I'm just thinking chronologically, I think that was late 2018, wasn't it? They got booted?
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, I think they were pretty much gone by the Q1 or Q2 2018 or something like that, yeah.
Okay, so maybe their name wasn't as muddied at the time of this tweet as what it subsequently was.
Well, no, because the distrust was in progress for like a year. They were being killed off at this point for being bad.
Okay, all right. No, I think that's all right. Fair comment. So it goes on. Now you made a good point here. You said, why would you ever need them after expiry? And they're like, because ICO.
So you don't need them after expiry because people should be rotating the keys anyway in their new certs. There is a concern if you're not using forward secrecy that keeping a copy of the key after the certificate's expiration potentially allows it to be leaked like more readily, and therefore traffic is more decryptable. But yeah, we've looped back to the ICO thing, and they don't. Like, I know that they don't because I'm very familiar with all of the ICO's guidance on most things because they're our relevant data privacy watchdog. So I keep up to speed with them, and they don't.
Okay. All right. So Scott calls bullshit on that one. So now you did very, very literally call bullshit on that one. And you were very upset about this. You said the ICO in the UK requires you to keep X509 keys for entire validity period plus 1 year, which is, and we'll see how this works over the live stream, normally the point where we played the Trustico theme song. And moving on. So, all right. Now I like this because you're like, okay, like screw you guys. We'll just like literally bring the ICO into the thread. And it turns out that the ICO is actually really responsive on Twitter, and they do good work. We know people in the ICO. They're doing a lot of good stuff under a lot of duress, I would imagine. And they came back and said, well, actually, we view things differently. So expand on this.
We published neither the DPA or EIDAS require this, which is correct. Yeah, I mean, that's valid, right? We would expect any reasons for retention to be significant enough to balance the potential security risk, because there is an absolutely massive security risk here, because like you're hugely increasing the exposure of the key, which means that it's more likely to be divulged in some way, accidentally or otherwise. The DPA is the Data Protection Act over here. Now, the DPA probably wouldn't cover keys because it's not quite, like it's not really in scope there. It's more about people's data and information. In the EIDAS, the Electronic Identification and Trusted Services like regulation would probably be more the place to go, but doesn't also specify that. There is no significant enough reason for me to balance a security risk here for someone else to have my keys in this capacity.
So this, by my reckoning at least, was a fairly reasonable discussion up until this point. Trustico decided they really didn't like talking to you anymore.
Yeah.
And you got banned. So
this is a common thing when you call people out, right?
How many, like, is this the third or the fourth time there's been an image of either you or I getting banned by people or blocked by people just because they don't like the discussion?
I was trying to be nice. Like, I really wasn't, I didn't feel like I was being too unreasonable.
Because remember when this happened, so this was all like March 2018, and then you came here to the Gold Coast, which incidentally, like that is the Gold Coast. You would attest to this, Scott? Unlike your image, which is really a... Anyway.
This is my window behind me.
Your very, very old window. So you were here on the Gold Coast for NDC security in 2018, and the Trustico thing had just been sort of blowing up. And then we realized that even though Trustico blocked you on Twitter, they couldn't block you in real life because there's literally a Trustico office on the Gold Coast. And it was like Trustico HQ,
so
right?
Much fun. We were just sat there Googling them, and then in the Google search results, it comes up with like office addresses. And I was like, Gold Coast. Like, this is amazing. It was lit. I mean, Genuinely, this was like between 10 and 15 minutes drive or something from your house, if I remember correctly.
I think I remember this because we were like having breakfast down at Main Beach or something, and we're just looking at it on Google Maps and going, holy shit, like they've actually got an office like right here. It's close. Let's just go.
Let's just go. Screw it.
And you know, like well, first of all, I look back at this photo and I was like, maybe it's because he's on the Gold Coast, but that shirt is a really interesting choice because it's basically just like channeling Hoff. You know, this is.
Oh yeah, this is like me with shirt and without shirt. This
separated birth. And then you couldn't help yourself, but while we were there, you found this on the ground.
Oh, this is good. I remember doing this now. Now it's all coming back to me. Oh, this is funny. Like, nothing more needs to be said on this. I was just like, screw you guys, you blocked me. Like, I'm gonna play around with this now.
Did they ever reply to you, or was this just like one of those, nah, you're blocked, you know?
No, they just stopped touching any conversation with me. Hey, did you get a picture of what was inside as well? Like, because that was funny.
You literally put some legit keys inside too, didn't you?
Yeah, like I printed out some private keys and put them in there and everything.
I didn't get a picture of that because I was just going through your tweets. So. Yeah.
This was excellent. I wonder if I can still find it.
I remember needing to print them out for you. So anyway, Trustico. Let's move on to Trustico because I was looking at them the other day. And I was like, well, you know, I wonder, maybe they just sort of clean up their act and everything's really legit now and it's just sort of trustworthy. And I went to the site here, and then one of the first things that happened after I went to the site is I got this big pop-up over the site. And I remember thinking, well, this is so convenient for me to get a big pop-up over all of the content I was reading and to offer me something. And all I have to do is give over my email address. You know, why don't more sites do this? Because I really like this. Anyway, so I like this bit just here. Don't be scammed by cheaper options. Using another provider could be risky business. And, you know, one of the things we've seen with Trustico as well as other resellers and other commercial CAs is obviously just trying to chuck Let's Encrypt under the bus. So yeah, talk about this, like the scammed by cheaper options. And I guess it'd be fair to say that free is cheaper than what Trustico offers.
Yeah.
So what's the angle? Like how do you position this as, let's say, Let's Encrypt being risky?
I mean, like, we just need to kind of cut through all the crap and straight to the point. Is that, you know, if we look at the cost of DV certificates over time, or certificates in general over time, they've just been absolutely plummeting. And I feel like the continuation of that trend to zero was always coming. I think Let's Encrypt accelerated that trend faster than anyone thought. Like, you know, we were like trending downwards and then Let's Encrypt came and it was like zero. So they might have cut the end off the trend line. So, I mean, I don't think that certificates becoming free should have been a surprise to anybody that was paying attention, but they have altered the marketplace and kind of hammered CA's business model. So again, like, I can understand them not being particularly happy about that, but Let's Encrypt is a CA just like all of the CAs. They're not governed by any different rules or requirements. They don't, you know, they don't have any other special allowances or anything like that. So to say that, and this isn't just Let's Encrypt specific answer, like this is like saying one CA is worse than another. Like in terms of the certificates themselves, like there is no difference. There are some things like some of the organizations are, you know, might have terrible support or whatever other kind of factors, but from a purely crypto standpoint, there's no difference here.
So I think this is sort of where it's a little bit odd, isn't it? It's how does, on a slightly more serious note, but how does a commercial CA actually manage to sufficiently differentiate themselves from a free offering in order to actually remain sustainable?
I think, again, it kind of ties in with the view over time thing. Like, I think the inherent value of a certificate, like an actual certificate itself, giant spider, is like nothing. And okay, historically, yes, like let's just say a unit of certificate, like whatever you want to call it, a certificate itself, like did have inherent value. But I think nowadays, like the value of a certificate itself is nothing. And I think therefore that when you're selling a certificate, the value of money that is exchanged shouldn't be for the issuance. Certificate authorities can do a heap of other stuff around certificates, right? Like all of us know here, if we've ever touched a certificate, it's not just like you get the certificate and it's done. It needs installation, it needs renewal, it needs maybe something like CT monitoring. Maybe like we need someone to help us install, like, I don't know what it would be, but there's a heap of other stuff around certificates, like this peripheral service area. And I think that really should be either what CAs have been focusing on or need to focus on. Because if your entire business proposition is like, hey, we're going to sell 1 unit of certificate for like $10, then I can't see how there can be much of a runway left for you.
All right, well, look, let's go on, because I did go over to their website, and obviously there's a whole bunch of stuff that they sell there. They're commercial by nature. And I don't think, in fairness, either of us have any problems with the fact that there are certificate authorities out there that are commercial by nature. And it's more sort of about, are they advertising in an accurate and reliable fashion? Are they misrepresenting? And anyway, so I'm having a look around at the site, and there's a whole bunch of interesting stuff here around what you get from a Trustico certificate. Or let's actually clarify that again, being a reseller, but a certificate that Trustico will sell you. And I thought I'd just throw a few of these at you and see how you feel about this. And the first one, I think I know where we're going to end up with this, is around warranty. So they have a warranty, and they say, look, the warranty protects the end user if an SSL certificate is issued to a third party that was not entitled to the SSL certificate. How do you feel about the warranty thing?
There's been like 5 questions in the comments so far about like, can you tell us what the warranties do? Or can you tell us like how to claim warranty? So this is perfectly timed. Oh man, like, so yeah, like this is kind of hard to explain for a brief explanation. So like, imagine if you are like troyspaymentprovider.com, and someone else, like an evil cyber hacker person, goes and gets a certificate from a CA, and they give them a certificate for like troyspaymentprovider.com by accident because they make a mistake. So they've given the certificate to the wrong person that doesn't own the website. The attacker then uses that certificate to spin up a website that looks genuine because the user gets a padlock and HTTPS in the address bar and whatnot. Then another innocent victim somehow gets lured to that website and types in their card details and somehow loses a bunch of money. Then that person right at the end of the chain is the one that gets the claim on the warranty for the financial damage that they suffered. And like, I just realized, like, when I was saying that out loud, how many steps there are. So it's called a relying party warranty. And the relying party is the person that goes to the browser and sees a padlock because of the certificate. That's the person that can claim if they come to financial harm. So that was as simple as I could boil that down, but it's quite a convoluted chain of stuff. So
you're going to enjoy this one as well. So this is still part of warranty. And then I want to pull up a couple of resources in the browser. Some SSL certificate issuers have weak validation methods and do not offer any type of warranty. We do not recommend purchasing an SSL certificate that doesn't include a warranty. What about if you don't purchase one, you get one for free? Yeah.
So this one does kind of read like a straight dig at Let's Encrypt in terms of the warranty, because Let's Encrypt don't provide any warranty. Like, on their certificates at all, full stop. So that's, I think all of the CAs do. Like, I always see them pumping warranties in the marketing stuff. So I think every other CA does. So it's probably specifically a Let's Encrypt dig. Some SSL issuers have weak validation. Well, the validation is set out in a document called the baseline requirements. I'm actually just going to Google that now. So in order to be a CA, you have to comply with the restrictions set out in the baseline requirements. Which is set out by an organization, a body called the CA Browser Forum, or the CAB Forum as we call them. So I just post the link into the chat now. Have a look at version 1.68 of the document. That's the latest one. Everybody has to follow those rules. Like, there's, again, like I said before, there's no special carve out for Let's Encrypt. So to say some issues have weak validation is, like, if they had weak validation, they wouldn't be allowed to be a CA. So this is kind of silly.
So I wanted to pull the blog post that you'd written here, because it had some interesting comments as well, some interesting pieces. Also, awesome blog post title. I wonder how you came up with that one. But anyway, this is very relevant for Simpsons fans. You will get the reference here. So you wrote a piece about this and basically concluded the warranties were just like ridiculous kind of stuff. But the thing that really struck me with this is that if you do a search on this blog post for nerd, this was super, super curious, because there's this guy, Andreas Malik, who incidentally, Scott has legitimately embedded this tweet. So for those of you who don't know, if you embed a tweet, say in a blog post, you basically load the Twitter.js, it formats it very, very nicely, and it puts how many times it's been viewed and retweeted and all this sort of stuff. But it also puts a block quote such that if the tweet is no longer available, you still get the content of the original tweet. So this tweet has been deleted. So Andreas Malik, CEO of Search Center, after Scott and I kind of drilled him, and I was like, okay, you offer certificates. What do they do? Has anyone ever actually claimed them? He wasn't real happy. And he says that we are way too nerdy to accept that normal people have different needs than people in Nerdville. I'm done tweeting in Nerdville. I'm back focusing to my customers' real world problems. See you. What do you reckon?
I mean, this kind of links in with the past few, right? Where we start off nice and try to bring like technical arguments and reasonableness, and then, you know, it inevitably ends up in a place where we don't want to be.
There's just a point where stuff gets batshit crazy for no apparent reason. And I was actually curious, because obviously the tweet's been deleted, but if I went and popped this open a new tab and then I took out everything after his status just to see if the guy even still exists. And is this the guy, or is this someone else who now has that Twitter handle? Because I have a feeling I checked some time ago and the account had been deleted.
Yeah, it doesn't look.
Was he a retro futurist and a fan of all things shiny and new?
I don't know, but then if you look at his location, it has Ketchup in it, which makes me think.
Well, hang on.
Crypto
How do you not know? Because I just did a quick bit of searching and it looks like he's one of your friends. Aha.
Oh, there we go. See, I am nice. Like, I'll still be friends with people.
Well, yeah, interesting. Interesting. Oh, how to avoid COVID-19 cyber attacks by DigiCert. Oh, this is going to be good.
Code of conduct.
I've had too many beers to worry about that right now. What are they doing? How is DigiCert going to stop COVID-19 hackers? Knowing how to identify these malicious attacks.
You know what? Like, there is one possible way that I could think of now that you said that, and it's actually related.
So just before we put it on the screen, what's that possible way?
Well, they're a certificate authority, so they could tail CT logs for scam sites and domain, therefore, certificate registrations that contain keywords related to the outbreak.
Yep, which anyone could do.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's not exclusive to them. I'm doing that right now, like literally as I talk to you.
So how do they do it? All right, is it going to be extended validation? Come on, EV.
Oh, we need to talk about EV because I have some new data.
Coronavirus. Pay attention when browsing. Come on, it's got to be EV. Don't download unknown attachments. Well, that's pretty reasonable. What? No EV? There's no extended. Missed opportunity.
But.
All right, let's go on with Trustico. So next one here. I like this one. Within 30 days of order, customer may request a cancellation and full refund of a customer qualifying SSL certificate product for any reason. Now, Let's Encrypt doesn't offer you a refund. Is this true?
No, they do. Like, Let's Encrypt will give you all of your money back if you want. Like,
here are all of your $0. Go for it. But it just seems like such a kind of a straw man argument, isn't it? Because why are you even discussing refunds for something which is kind of free now anyway?
Yeah, I guess they're trying to give people the confidence to part with their money that they can always get it back, right? Like, that seems to be what this is.
No, you can't always get it back, mate, only within the first 30 days.
Well, yeah, okay, like, you're going to change your mind with the certificate within 30 days, aren't you, I guess? Like, you know, if you install it and it doesn't work, or it breaks down all the time and you have to get it recovered, then you want a refund.
I'm just not even going to bother going down that path. All right, next one, issuance insurance. So issuance insurance will allow you to submit a new request for an SSL certificate completely free of charge. So run us through this one.
A new But like in what scenarios would you get a new one? Like any new, like you buy a certificate once and then you just get 3 new ones forever? Or issuance insurance will allow you to submit a new request for, oh, so like maybe if you want to change it, like you forget a subdomain and you want to add a subdomain, then you can get a new one with the new subdomain included?
I don't
like,
know.
It's not entirely sure what that insures you against.
It just sort of comes back to this commercial side of things again, where it's like
it says insurance, therefore it must be good.
Well, it's that, but they're trying to suggest a commercial value for something which kind of doesn't have a commercial value anymore anyway. So, you know what? Okay, so this is who it appeals to. There'll be a compliance officer somewhere in a big corporate, and the compliance officer is doing their job, hardworking person, doesn't necessarily know about the intricacies of HTTPS and all this sort of stuff. And they're going through the list and they're like, wow, this certificate authority has issuance insurance. This one doesn't. Oh, bam, insurance. This is what we want. It almost feels like it's the old saying, like you can't get fired for buying IBM. It kind of feels like that thing. It's like if we do the thing with the insurance, we'll be better covered than if we didn't have the insurance.
So like a couple of good comments here. One from Cynthia again saying like, is this for multiple servers? So maybe you want like multiple certs and therefore keys for different servers, which is maybe a valid point. Another comment here then says, well, like Let's Encrypt don't have this. So every time you get a new certificate, they charge you full price. You know, so that's very reasonable. Like they do charge you full price for every new certificate. So yeah, maybe insurance is a good thing.
Anyway, so I'm on the Trustico website. And this guy pops up, Mitchell pops up, and I thought this was very nice because he saw I was there, obviously a little bit confused by everything that I was seeing on the website, and he's like, "Hi, my name is Mitchell Smith. I'm at Trustico," and I like the way he took the time to actually put the registered little symbol in there as well, just in case I was confused with it being the other Trustico, which isn't the registered one. Customer service agent and ready to assist you if you have any questions. And this is Mitchell. I blew his phone up a little bit, and I was kind of curious because I have an image in my mind about what a customer service person working for an organization like this looks like. And Mitchell to me looked very presentable. He looked very well dressed. I think wearing a tie is a bit of a lost art. So, you know, it's interesting. I should go and see if I can find Mitchell anywhere else on the web. And you wouldn't believe it, he's out there. So Mitchell is also out there on the ePeople Human Resources portal. So you can find him there. So he moonlights on eResources, which was interesting.
Freelance tech support agent.
Well, I mean, he's out there, mate. He's a busy guy. And dressed like that, he'd get a lot of opportunities as well. So speaking of getting a lot of opportunities, he's also out there on Vero Date. Unfortunately, Mitchell there is Maria. So I don't quite know how that works, but
that's interesting.
And in fact, everyone's Maria. But anyway, he's out there on Vero Date. He's also out there on CN Caps, which is a CAPS website where you can get testimonials. And I thought it was kind of curious to see him in so many places. And I thought, you know, who on earth would ever end up pimping themselves out to basically appear there promoting products, which I suspect that Mitchell has actually no support for whatsoever. And then I did a bit of Googling, and I found that all sorts of people will actually get their faces promoting things that they never expected to promote. So,
how much do you make from this?
And please address me as Dave from New Jersey as well, if you wouldn't mind. So,
what about Tony? Like, are we not sticking with Tony?
Mate, how did I end up there? I don't know. Like a few people have managed to find that. And the curious thing is they probably only managed to find that because they're reverse image searching me just to find out how many places I've been as well. But anyway, I'm Dave. So, I'm actually really tempted just to get in touch with the organization and try and get a because I would love to know.
Like what website is it? Can we see this live?
Can we Google it? Let's try just Googling it.
I don't know, like how do I Google your face? Try Hunt's face.
No, you just Google the text. I thought I was going to I've got my microphone right in front of the keyboard. Fail, but I ended up passing.
And then we can quote string that, right?
And then if we look for Dave NJ.
No.
I found it.
I put a link in the YouTube chat.
I think, oh, did I find it? No, I'm on a media file. How did I end up there? There's multiple DMV. Oh, I think there are other people impersonating me. Like
oh, dude, I found you. Okay, I found you.
I'll put it in the chat. Put it in the chat.
There we go. Now the question is, like, how many websites can we get your face on and call you by a different name?
Is that it?
I'm just looking who else is there with you. Oh wait, hang on, is that? Oh no, oh, like, is that? Is to your right on there, like Krisha, is that she looks very familiar to the other website with Maria, or like, have we seen her before?
No.
I can't remember. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I'm sure she looks familiar.
Wow.
I wonder if you're all like victims of having your like faces stolen.
But yeah, I would. This seems like this would be a good sort of podcast episode, right? Where you just sort of go through. Oh, man? Totally losing my mind now. It's probably.
I've had some really good ideas of like other podcasts like this that we're going to have to do.
This would be a good Reply All episode. So if you've never listened to the Reply All series, they do some really, really good sort of investigative stuff of like how does stuff actually happen on the internet. Look, anyway, I just realized like that was actually the last slide, and we're sort of in that question time. We've been going for two and 3/4 hours. Originally, I was like, this is an hour talk. Maybe shit will get out of control. It will go for 2 hours. I better put a few beers in the esky just in case. So we're at nearly 3 hours. And I think you wanted to cover some EV stuff. Were there questions about EV stuff?
Yeah, there were quite a few questions about EV. So for those not familiar, like Troy and I are really big advocates for EV or extended validation certificates. They are, I can't even finish the sentence. They're just awful. They've been around for like quite a long time. They were super expensive. I just
accidentally clicked on images for Scott Helme Nerds from Nerdsville, and you and I came up.
Accidentally clicked on that. Hang on a minute. Like, wait, how did we end
up in a search for Nerds from Nerdsville? Sorry, I broke your concentration.
There's a lot of you and me. How has it put you and me together with that reference?
Well, I did put your name in there as well. Okay, what would be weird is if I took that out and I tried again. Haha, we're okay. We're fine.
Okay, so we're not the nerdiest nerds in Nerdville, which is amazing.
Worse. Could be worse.
But if you put me in there, like it came up with a lot of images of you. So it's like, it's like, oh, well, that's Scott Helme nerd. It must be like the Troy Hunt nerd as well.
This would be like, remember when we were in Vegas and we were walking around at Black Hat and DEF CON, and people come up to me and go, hey, Troy, I really love Have I Been Pwned? Who the fuck is this guy?
The amount of times that I heard that in a day.
All right, sorry, EV, go.
Yeah, so it's like really, I mean, it's kind of dead anyway. If you go onto my blog, and you publish loads of things as well that you could find about EV certificates and how they're dying off. But the other thing that I do, if you like just, actually, can I put my screen on? Oh, no, I can't.
Can I make you the screen?
Can you make me the presentore?
Let's have a look. I can go to.
It says I don't have permission.
You. I'd actually have to make you the host, which I can do.
Oh no, you can just stop sharing. If you just stop sharing, I can share.
Stop sharing? Okay, let's try that.
Yes, here we go. So what do I want? Hang on, careful. Let me just bring this over and just check. Let me just minimize like all of my top secret documents. It's got to be this one, right? Yes, there we go. So first of all, like you can pretty much get my kind of view on EV certificates with this one here. They're EV certificates worth the paper they're written on. So hopefully like that kind of clarifies that. But the other thing that I do, which is like more kind of like quantifiable, is I have this project called crawler.ninja, because that was the only domain that was on offer and was cheap, and I just needed a domain. And I kind of crawled the top 1 million sites. Now, it used to be based on the Alexa top 1 million. It's now based on the Tranco top 1 million, which seems to be a better list. And I crawl them every single day and check out a heap of stuff about their security. And what I do then is every kind of like 6 months, I publish these little reports. So where do I find, like, oh, I can't spell my own name right. That's why. Someone before was laughing because I asked how to Google stuff, and now you know that I don't know. So I publish these reports like every 6 months, which is an analysis of what changed. And one of the things that I started to track was, quite a few reports ago, EV certificate usage. Now, literally tomorrow, I'm publishing the next report. It's a little bit late because of everything that's happened. And let me just read you like one snippet, like one quote from this report. Another continuing trend over the course of these scans is the decline in the presence of EV certificates in the top 1 million. Despite there being more sites than I've ever recorded using HTTPS, there is also the lowest number I've ever recorded of sites using EV certificates. So despite the phenomenal growth in websites using HTTPS, like EV certificates haven't even remotely close to sustained their market share. They've actually been just like completely obliterated in the last 6 months.
So is that as in raw numbers or as a percentage?
That's absolute numbers. So their market share has also been decimated, but their absolute numbers have also been decimated.
Okay, so yeah, not so good for them.
So it's definitely. I almost said something out loud, and now I'm not going to. Wow, that's a big snake. So, boy. So yeah, check that blog post out tomorrow. It's going to be interesting. There's a heap of other cool stuff in there that's changed as well. And this is the second scan with the trend code list now. So last time we couldn't compare a lot of the trends because I changed the data source. This time I can do all the trend comparison again because it's the same list for both 6 month scans. So it's it just makes that a lot more reliable for the comparison.
So have we got anything else we wanted to cover? Keeping in mind we, where are we at now? 2 hours, 50 minutes, geez. Scott's a daytime drinker. Daytime drinking.
I mean, like you know what, like, I think we should just do more stuff like this because there's a heap of stuff that I'd like to talk through. Like all of these. So if you go to my homepage, did everyone see that big thing about the revocation thing? So I just so happened, unrelatedly, to have 3 sequential blog posts all about revocation. So it's weird because on March 2nd, I talked about CR Lite, which is a project Firefox is working on. And then literally Let's Encrypt had their like mass revocation incident a few weeks ago now. And then I decided to prove once and for all, because loads of people kept coming to me saying, oh, revocation does work. I'm like, no, it doesn't. So I demonstrated that it didn't work. But that's like we could do like a whole 1 hour talk on that or something and just like
that might be
nerd dive into Nerdville.
I mean, mind you, we do actually have to spend the week doing workshops as well, which was kind of the intro to this, and it's probably the right thing to do the outro. Do you want to just get that back on the screen just as one last plug before we start to wrap up? Because, well, I'm truly getting my bedtime now. Crikey.
Yeah, look at it. I love this, right? It's like if I pop a new tab and just do like Troy, the first suggestion is troyhuntsucks.com. So I have to go like Troy and then go down to troyhunt.com.
Do you know,
knows me so
I got another phone call about that the other day. So I had one of these sort of cold call, we'd like to sell you website services. And it's always from the other side of the world, and it's VoIP calls and long delays. And they're like, yes, we'd like to sell you services for Troy Hunt Sucks. I'm like, for what? Troy Hunt Sucks. Sorry, it's really hard to hear you. Can you say that again? That's like the exercise is literally how many times can I get them to say Troy Hunt Sucks?
This is funny. Like we could totally.
Anyway, maybe how much I suck is a fairly reasonable place to start wrapping this up. So as we said in the intro, this is fun. We're also working to try and make sure that we can keep conferences like NDC sustainable through this period, so that we have things that we can go and do face to face, and we can go and have beers in person again and do all the stuff that we used to do in the past as well. So slots for Australia still open there. And again, all of these prices are roughly about half of what they would have been if we were there in person. We're going to do 2 days of all of the stuff that is actually in the workshops link at the top of that page as well. It'll all be online. You'll get all the workshop slides and things like that, just as we've always done. And Scott and I are going to do that together. We've sort of tried to find like what's the right way of doing this event without it just feeling like webinars. So we're both going to be doing half days each. We're both going to spend time together in the middle of the day. You got your bloody Australia hat back on. Oh, mate. Holy shit.
It doesn't, like, I have to buy a kid's one on Amazon. It doesn't quite fit, but I just like, and also while I'm broadcasting, you can't change your background, but I want to go back to Australia one just to let you know.
I wasn't sure for a moment because you're in this tiny little thumbnail, if that was like AR, like literally sat on top of your head, or if you had that for real. I'm kind of more disturbed the fact that you actually have one.
Oh no, yeah, I bought loads of Australia props, man. Right, so how, like, serious question, because I don't know how to zoom. Like, how do I turn off the screen share now?
Just go to stop. So if you go to the top of the page, you'll see stop sharing somewhere.
Nope. This one? Like the thing isn't there.
Control away.
Take it off. You need to take the power away. Oh, it's over here on my 4th monitor. Oh yeah, it's fine. We've got it.
You got it?
Wow. Yeah, that's a bit screwy.
If you kill that, we'll go back full screen. Oh, look at that. Jeez, look at that hat.
Dun, dun, dun. All right, here we go. Dun, 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 dun. There we are. Now we're talking. Now we can load this shit up. Here we go. Yeah.
Put that over here now. Oh my God, that is a real hat. Holy shit.
It is a real hat. It's like a kid's one because that's all that Amazon had, because we only have essential supplies now. So important shit. Oh, goodbye, kangaroo. That's not a knife.
Oh, jeez.
You say it. You say it better. Go on, you say it and we'll dub it over me in editing.
That's not a knife.
There we go.
There you go. That's good. That's good. That's how it's done. All right. So we should wrap that up. Let's just do it again because it is good fun. I don't know. Like it's not like we're going anywhere, so we'll have the chance to do that anyway. But
if anyone would like to see this again and like more subjects, let us know in the comments, or we'll just refrain and like save our time.
It'd be different stuff because we've basically burned this show now because for the first time ever it's actually been recorded. It's now all on YouTube. You can just go and play the whole thing again.
Oh, but we'll just make new content. Like this is fine. But now people know the format, and it'll be like the same format with new stuff.
Well, in fairness as well, it's not like there's ever going to be any shortage of it either, right? There's always going to be new content. So we're fine there.
I don't know, man. Like people might stop saying dumb stuff on the internet.
I think we're safe. All right. On that note, I'm going to end the stream to YouTube now. That will still be available on the blog. But if you've watched this far, you've probably seen it anyway. You'll be able to go watch the whole thing again. Thanks for tuning in. Scott, thanks for joining me from the other side of the world, mate. Oh, geez.
Yeah, no worries.
All right. That's definitely time to end the stream.